take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
All right, guys, we're here. We're live. You're watching Buster Unmasked. You seen the teaser just then. Get ready, Memphis, Tennessee. September 21st, the 3 most dangerous letters in professional wrestling return to Memphis, Tennessee, and that's K-A-W. You do not want to miss it. Tonight, guys, we got a heck of a show for you. This is one I've been really looking forward to. Let me just start out by saying this. My guest tonight, in my opinion, is the most complete professional wrestler that this area has produced in the last 25 years. He is respected by all of his peers, he's respected by the fans, and he's respected by the men and women he's helped train over the recent years to succeed in this business. And without a doubt, he is still all that and a bag of chips. So I bring to you the one and only Alan Steele. Alan.
Hey, man. How's it going?
What's up, dude? Man, I'm glad we finally here, my brother.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, you know, it's 3 months from yesterday was the original when we were supposed to do this, and my body decided to shut down on me. So I'm glad it's cooperating tonight.
Well, look, if you're cool with it, kind of let's kind of tell everybody what happened to you, dude. What was going on with you, man?
All right. I was just relaxing around the house, and my wife went and had brunch with some of her girlfriends, and while she was gone, I started having some real strong abdominal pain, and so I just thought, yeah, maybe it's something I ate, you know, but couldn't figure out what it was. But by the time she made it back home, it was more pain than what I wanted to tolerate. So I told her, take me to the nurse clinic that's right, like not far from our house. Well, we get there and I walk in and say, hey, I'm having abdominal pain. And they looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. They're like, no, not here. You don't. You need to go to the emergency room. So I end up at the emergency room, and heck, it was close to the house. I wish we went there first, but I ended up there and went in there on Sunday. Didn't get out till that following Friday. But I ended up finding out I had pancreatitis and type 2 diabetic, and didn't have a clue that I had either one of those or even the symptoms of either one of those, because I'm one of those stubborn men that don't go to the doctor and thinks that time will heal all wounds. So,
Right here,
but
dude.
yeah, so it didn't work that way. So I learned a valuable lesson. Now I have a regular doctor and I'm getting checked on. Actually, I got a appointment a month from today is my next appointment. So everything's going good. And I dropped 50 pounds in like the last year, and a lot of that was the inflammation from like inside my stomach just kept swelling and swelling. And I was telling my wife, I go, this doesn't make sense because I'm eating like grilled chicken and salads and stuff like that, and there's no
Right.
reason that I should be swelling. Like it was literally like somebody took a pump and it was just blowing my stomach up, and I got up to 315 pounds, and that is heavy for me. I'm comfortable walking around at 240, 250 easy. I was comfortable when I was wrestling all the time. I was 240, 250, even a little heavier than that. And it could still move at that weight, but man, the 315, if I had to go upstairs or something, I was like, what is going on? So yeah, I dropped 60 pounds since then. So doing a lot better. I feel good. I haven't gotten my consistency back in the gym and stuff. But I'm still working on that. I'm trying to get in there. I want to go, man, like 4 days a week. I do, but I'm still doing some research on like how much my blood sugar might drop while you're working out. Cause that's one of the things, if you're exercising, your blood sugar drops. And I sure don't want to like pass out in the gym and slam my head onto some weights or something,
Right.
but we're going to put some Reese's, Reese's peanut butter cups or something in my gym bag, and we're just going to have to go. So if I start feeling lightheaded or whatever, eat something and keep rolling. So we're doing a whole lot better, man. I appreciate you asking. I hate that I had to bail on you last time, but my body said,
Dude, it ain't been a year and a half before that show. I was in the same situation, except I had pancreatitis, but it's caused my gallbladder. My
right,
gallbladder
right,
was so full and stopped up that I guess it was pushing the stuff back, and it was going
right.
into the pancreas, and then the pancreas was pushing the poison out into my body, and it was, dude, I never felt pain like that in my life,
Yeah,
dude. And I'm the same way. I'm hard headed. My wife begged me for a day and a half. Go to the emergency room. Go to the emergency room. No,
yeah,
it'll go away. And I'm drinking uh Metamucil or anything, Pepto Bismol, gas pills,
right.
any of this, because it's like you said, it felt like you described it better than I could. It felt like you were being pumped up with an air pump.
Yeah, man.
For
It,
me,
it was sucked.
it was right under my sternum, man. It was just so much pressure, and it was a burning because the stuff in your pancreas apparently is poison, and it's like acid. So it was literally
Yeah,
burning my organs and stuff from the inside. Uh,
right.
Dude, I know. I feel you, man. At least you got lucky, and what you didn't have to. They took my gallbladder, and that changes everything for you as far as the way you eat,
Oh,
the
yeah, I
kind of
bet.
foods you can eat, man. It changes everything. Changes your whole digestive system, man. And it took me. I'm still getting used to it because most of the time it's good, but sometimes, man, you have a couple of weeks where no matter what you eat, your gut does different than it normally does, man.
Right. Yeah. No, fortunately, I still have all the original OE parts. And so I haven't had to have anything taken out or replaced or anything. So I'm doing good on that. So yeah, yours was probably worse than mine. So
I don't
I'm
know.
glad we're both okay.
Well, here's the thing. At least you got in there and you found out that you did have some diabetes, because left that
Yeah.
untreated can wreak havoc
Oh,
on
man.
your whole body, everything, your eyes, everything, dude. Look,
Right.
Robert Carter's with us, and he said, "Glad you're doing better. All of us are, Alan."
I
Uh,
appreciate that. That's a good dude right there. I really appreciate him.
so look, man, I've had a few guests on, a couple for sure, that I've got bits and pieces of Alan Steele's career, little bits here and there. Obviously Derek, obviously Johnny
Right.
Dotson. I've got little bits and pieces of your career, and I feel like that I've kind of been watching you since the day you started. I, I do, man. I mean, I feel like I've been watching you since the day you started. But let's go back even further than that, Alan, and kind of take us through how you fell in love with pro wrestling? What drawed you to it, or what drawed it to you, man?
All right. Well, before I do that, I wanted to say this before I forget. Thank you for that introduction. That hit me here. I appreciate that.
Dude,
I
it's the
always,
truth, brother. It's the truth, man.
well, I appreciate it. I work very hard for people to have that opinion of me, honestly. But it doesn't go unnoticed. Nothing. When you put a lot of effort in your heart into things and people give you compliments, it makes you feel, good about yourself. It's like, I didn't waste my time. I went down the right path, whatever the case may be. But thank you for that. But as far as, go ahead.
Hold on. I'm glad you said that, because here's the thing. Wrestling is a thankless job most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is. Actually, me and you have only met one time. In person. This is the first time we've really ever had a long conversation, but back in, I want to say maybe 2000, I met you at Peppermint Pond in Dyersburg, and you were one of the only guys. You came up to me, you shook my hand, and you told me it was a pleasure and an honor to meet me, like I was somebody. And I've never forgot that, dude. Never. You're one of the only guys to ever come up and do that like that, man. And like you said, it means a lot, dude. I just want you to know that, man.
Well, I appreciate that. And I guess I can give that credit to, Derek, really, because when I got trained and I started traveling, before we went into that first building, sitting in the car, I was like, what do I need to do? And so it was like, all right, go in, shake everybody's hand, introduce yourself, find a seat in the corner, sit down and shut up. So, gotcha. So I did that. So that was in 97. So if we met in 2000, I was about 3 years in. I was a little comfortable. But I still, I respect the wrestling business. And so anybody who is either currently doing it or has done it before me, I 100% believe in, show honor and show respect to the ones who paved that path. You know what I mean? So I may not had a clue. That could have been your day one, you know what I mean? As far as I know, but hey, at some point we could have been standing across the ring from each other and, put our bodies in each other's hands and our lives in each other's hands. And so if I don't have the respect of my peers, and and back then it really was told, hey, this is a brotherhood. So if I don't have that, then I'm fighting an uphill battle. And hell, I'm 3 years in, I'm still greener than grass. You know what I mean? So that's just how I was broken in. You show respect to everybody because, the one that you crap on the way up is the one that, you got to answer to on the way down. So you never know.
Man. Right, man. And dude, you were already over with me before that. Like I said, I feel like I've kind of been watching you, if not since you started, since the first time you popped up on Power Pro, for sure. I've known who Alan Steele is, and I think everybody did. Everybody had eyes on you. Go ahead, Alan.
I was just going to say that Power Pro was a big accomplishment for me because, when I first started wrestling, I had some goals in mind, and getting wrestling on Memphis television on Channel 5 was one of those. I wanted to wrestle in the Mid-South Coliseum at least once. I wanted to wrestle on Channel 5. And within my first year, I was on Channel 5. So I was extremely proud of that. And Power Pro that locker room became my first real family environment as far as in wrestling. And then later on, TCW was the same way, man. So those two places, if people talk bad about either one of those companies, then we're going to have a conversation because I'm going to defend those two to the day I'm gone, But to answer your question, as far as how I guess became hooked on wrestling and everything, as far back as I can remember, I've loved it. I don't remember. I can't point out like I saw this guy wrestle. I watched this match. I can't specify it like that, but I can say that as far back as I remember watching that television, I was watching USWA. Because Memphis I'm a Memphis kid. I was born and
Right.
bred in Memphis. Uh, and so I grew up watching Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, Dutch Mantell. Uh, hey, Sebastian, how you remembered. I'm glad you tuned in, man. I'm glad you're doing good, buddy. Uh,
Sebastian, we appreciate you watching, dude.
but I watched it every Saturday, man. I remember watching, uh, it was Dave and Lance, and then, Dave and Randy, and Dave was there, Dave and
Right.
Corey, you know what I mean? But I watched it every Saturday growing up. And then my dad, my mom and my dad were divorced, but when my dad would get off work on Mondays, he'd come scoop me and my sister up, and we go to the Coliseum and watch the matches. So
Man,
I
love
was
that
there
deal.
all the time. Oh, it was great. I mean, being in the crowd and seeing how the people reacted and responded, I think is a big reason that I wanted to do it. Like, I wanted to be that person. I wanted to be that puppet master. You know what I mean? I wanted to make this person either love me or hate me. I wanted that control over the fans.
Right.
And so, and I was I was a shorter kid, so I didn't know how tall I was ever going to end up being. And so I was a huge Bill Dundee fan
Right.
because I was like, him and Coco Beware. I was like, man, both these guys are not the tallest guys, but they will fight you till the death. You know what I mean? These guys will fight you
Right.
till they can't. And so I was huge fans of both of those guys, and which is great because later on I got trained by Bill. So but I watched it every Saturday, and even at one point every Saturday. So my mother, my two aunts, and my grandmother would all get together on Saturday morning and go do their shopping for the week. And in Memphis, out on Summer Avenue, I think it was, there used to be a Kroger and a Kmart in one strip mall. And they'd go to the Kroger, buy the food and stuff, go to Kmart to get, clothes or toilet paper or whatever they had to get there.
Right.
And as soon as I entered Kmart, I flew to the electronics department and I made the guy turn it on Channel 5, and I sat down in the middle of the floor, and it was on like 30 TVs around, and I just sat there and wouldn't leave Kmart until the show went off the air. So my mom knew on Saturday we got to be at Kmart at 11 o'clock.
Right.
So I'd go in there and I'd hijack the electronics department and sit there and watch it. And but I did. I watched it incessantly, man. You become addicted to it. And when you want me to talk about when I got trained too?
Dude, that's where we're headed, man. Talk to us about, yes, sir. Talk to us about how you even hooked up with Bill Dundee and the training. And yes, that's what we're here for, dude. We're here to learn about you today, man.
Well, so Bill wasn't the first option. I knew this girl through a friend, and her uncle, I think it was, uncle or cousin one, was Charlie Parks, who
Okay.
ran shows in Memphis too. Well, my cousin and I had a cousin who was going to get into the wrestling business the same time I was. So we went and met with Charlie, and he brought us to his house. He had a ring in the backyard. And so we went to his backyard, and, like anybody, the first time they get in the ring, they want to feel how the ropes feel. They jump up and down on the mat to see if it's a trampoline.
Right.
And so he showed me, he goes, just go ahead, fall down and see what you think. And I was like how? I said, I know it's not just fall down. So I did. I took one. Boom. I go, that hurt. But when I got up, I was so happy I couldn't get the smile off my face. And I knew then I was going to figure out a way to get in. You know what I mean?
Right.
That night, they had an event at the National Guard Armory on Holmes Road in Memphis. And my cousin and I went and watched it. And so we were watching the matches and everything. And I watched Charlie's match real close because I was like, this might be the guy who's training me. Let me see if he knows what the heck he's doing. So I watched him. I, not to speak ill of the dead, wasn't that impressed. So I was like, let me shop around a little bit. So I was working out at the French Riviera Spa, and one day I hear this loud voice And I look up, and over the wall, they had the office. I saw this curly hair moving, coming like into the gym. It's Sid Vicious. And he comes walking in the gym. And then I just start harassing the hell out of Sid Vicious. And so I'm like, hey, man, I want to train. Do you have a school? Do you know who I can talk to? He's like, oh, yeah, I can train you. I can train you. So Sid gets my number, and I'm wearing him out. I know he's like, God, why'd I give this kid my number? Because I'm blowing him up on text messages and stuff. So I'm trying to get my foot in. And so I went and I took out a loan at the bank. This is how bad I wanted to do it. I went and took out a loan, and then it was scheduling conflicts, could never get on the same page. And I was like, son of a gun, man. So I ended up, Power Pro was on the air at that point, and I sat down and in a self-addressed stamped envelope, like they used to tell you when you wanted free tickets.
Right.
I wrote a letter to Channel 5 and asked them if Power Pro Wrestling had a wrestling school. And I got a response. I never thought I'd get a letter back. Sure enough, came back like the following week, and they said, yes, we do. It's run by none other than Bill Superstar Dundee. Here's the phone number to get in touch with him. So I said, boom, grabbed the phone. I called. I spoke with Samantha Dundee, and
Right.
she was the one doing all of the paperwork. You know what I mean? As far as name, this is where you come to get trained. This is how much your deposit's going to be. This is how much you're going to have to pay every week or bi-weekly, depending on how your paychecks run at your job. So I signed up. I went the next Saturday or maybe 2 weeks later and met Bill after he got out of Channel 5. We talked. He said, well, come to Jackson, Tennessee Wednesday and we'll see what you got. I said, I'll see you. What time? Drove up to Jackson, Tennessee. And it was really cool because most of the young guys on Power Pro were going up there to work out and just get extra reps.
Right.
And so when I first got there, Lance Jade, Blade Boudreaux, Derek King, Trey Keller, Naughty by Nature Rude. It was a bunch of guys in there with some experience already. You know what I mean? So
A who's who of young guys too, because I mean, Derek and Blade had been in the business a while by then, a few years, but man, these were all young, hungry guys out there trying to chasing the dream, man.
Yeah, they were, and it was really cool because, like, conversation down the road, I find out that if I had gotten trained by Sid, he had already contacted Derek to come and help him train some kid he met at the gym. That's me. I'm some kid. So either way it went, I was going to be trained by Derek King. So I always tell people I got trained by Bill Dundee. I tell when Derek's around, I always say Bill trained me because it pisses Derek off because he was in the ring doing most of the work. Bill was on the outside saying, don't do that, do that again, you know. So I got trained by Bill Dundee and Derek and a host of others. And after about 6 months, I got to have my first match, and that was in McKenzie, Tennessee. But I wasn't Alan Steele. I was the handsome stranger, like Buff Bagwell used to do down in Texas. So, yeah, I did that only at that one show. Not say that one building in McKenzie. We did, I don't know, 3 or 4 shows. And then I also got to ref at a Oman Arena show. An inexperienced guy, you know, they needed a ref, or Bill said, hey, you can come ref, you know, get in the ring, see what it's like. I said, absolutely. So I went and bought me a referee shirt and black pants, and I was ready, man. And I remember driving there. My brother was with me, and I had a flat tire on the damn interstate. I was like, I'm going to get fired the first day because I'm going to be late. And so I called Derek and CB Wyatt were in the car ahead of me because I was just following them. And I'm flashing my lights at them and honking, and they just kept going. I go,
steady driving, I don't believe in you.
Yeah. So jumped out. My brother goes, stay in the car. You don't need grease all over you. I'll change the tires. So he put the donut on there. We go to the arena, get there. I'm late. come in. I go, hey, had a flat, sorry. And I said, you can come out here and look. I got a donut on my car if you don't believe me. So, but man, I got that show. I got to referee a match with, oh man, it was Billy Travis and I want to say Reggie B versus PG-13, and it was so cool. Like I was sitting there going, man, I've watched you guys for years, and towards the end of the match, the hubcap came into play. Well, it got dropped, and so I'm in my head, I'm going, they might need this again. So I'm trying to scoot it out the way so nobody steps on it or trips on it. So I'm pushing it over. I'm trying to get it right under that bottom rope, right? Boom, out on the floor it goes. I'm like, son of a. And so in the back, Jamie Dundee ripped me a new one. You stupid mother, you don't ever get rid of the. And I'm like, all right. I said, hey man, no, I didn't know what was going on. I literally had no idea how the match was going to end. I had no idea. Right. So I was just trying to. Hey, nobody needs to break a leg. Nobody needs to roll an ankle. I'm just trying to keep everybody safe. And sure enough, screwed up, man. And
you're trying to be the best ref, man, and you messing up the whole finish, man.
Right. So, but I mean, that first time at Charlie Park's house, I was hooked. When I hit that mat, I was hooked. And like even recently, when I was training some guys, I told them, I said, you'll know after today if this is for you. I said, because it either you're going to get bit by the bug or you're not. You know what I mean? Wrestling is a passion project, and you either love it or you don't. I mean, if you're doing this and you kind of like it, you're wasting yours and everybody else's time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, once you're bitten by that bug, oh hell, it's real hard to let it go. It really is.
Man, it consumed. Look, before, go back to when you were a kid. I was the same way. I don't remember the first match I ever seen. I mainly remember being in my parents' living room. I had this giant panda bear with wrestling on, and I'm beating the shit out of this panda bear, dude. I'm wrestling the hell out of this panda bear. And obviously, it's Memphis Channel 5 wrestling. I was the same way, man. That's before I wanted to be in the NWA or WWF or WCW. It was like, man, I want to be on Channel 5. That's the place to be, man. And the same as you. See, I lived in Helena, and I didn't get to go to the Coliseum, but every so often. Matter of fact, the first match I ever went to, I was 10 years old. Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, Loser Leave Town. The match where it also had the Fabulous Ones and the Moondogs on it.
Ooh.
Man, the Coliseum was completely packed. When I say packed, I'm talking about to the gills. It was so packed when we got there, back down to where McDonald's even was on the road before you turn in to go into the Coliseum, the park building. Dude, we were backed up in traffic. So time we got in there, my brother and his wife let us out. I'm 10. My brother's wife's brother is like 13 or 14. And they just let us out at the Coliseum. We'll find a parking spot and go in.
Right.
Dude, we go in and we finally found a spot on one chair on each side of a dude smoking a joint at the very top of the Coliseum, and that's where we sat, dude. But man, I was just like you, that crowd in the palm of your hands, man. I'd never experienced nothing like that, man. Bill Dundee goes to hit Lawler with that chop block. Lawler takes that first bump over him.
Right.
Man, the crowd's just, oh. Yeah. The second one comes, the crowd's like, oh. And man, Dundee goes for that third one, and Lawler hits that uppercut. And I've never seen however many thousand people experience the exact same emotion at the exact same time before in my life. It was like this, everybody, it was like, it was a pop and then a pop. It was like they gasped when it happened. And when Bill Dundee, Bill took this big, exaggerated, slow bump back, when he hit that mat, the crowd exploded. And dude, I was hooked before that, but that right there, same as you, I wanted to be able to do that because that's awesome, dude.
Yes.
The greatest experience ever. And talking about refereeing, I don't think people realize that getting to referee when you first start out like that, man, it's a good learning experience because you get a different perspective of a wrestling match. You're not in there. You're not one of the wrestlers. So you're in there, but you're still kind of on the outside a little bit. So you kind of,
hmm
you get to see things you don't normally see outside sitting in the stands, man.
Right. That's true. Yeah. And you could learn a ton by, just being a referee, and they're so important. People don't give enough credit. It's like, you tell people this is a singles match. There's three of y'all that make this happen. You know what I mean? It's not just good guy versus bad guy. That referee is way more important than they get credit for. That's why I think it's really important that they get trained just as well as the wrestlers. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's Sebastian Moon. Sebastian Moon was one of my trainees, and he wanted to be a referee. Now, honestly, he was a lazy ass. He didn't want to do. We made everybody warm up. He didn't want to do the warm up. He just wanted to get in the ring and count to three. I was like, no, it's a hell of a lot more than that, So he's a good dude. I'm glad he's staying busy and with the wrestling stuff. But yeah, he don't like the warm ups, man. The push ups and all the squats and stuff. Not a fan.
Dude, Pee Wee in high school football, I was the same way. Wrestling, I didn't mind getting in the ring and working out for hours, running the ropes,
Right.
bumping for hours and hours. Football, I only wanted to play in the games. All I wanted to do was hear my name called, man,
That's
on
it.
the tackle, man. I didn't want to work for it. It just wasn't in me. But wrestling, totally different level of passion, man.
Oh, absolutely. Because you're guilty as charged. Yeah.
Exactly.
It becomes an addiction,
It is, and it consumes your whole life. Even before I was a wrestler, once I fell in love with wrestling, I mean, it kind of, you're always there on Saturday morning. You're going to be there to watch watch Saturday morning wrestling. I quit Pee Wee football one year because they started we'd been losing, and they started making us practice on Saturdays. And I just straight up told my coach, man, look, I think we started practicing at like 11, and back then it was still 11 to 12:30 for the wrestling.
Right.
Every Saturday, and I'm like, man, I went to the very first one. He's like, what is up with you? And I'm like, he's like, you don't even want to be here. I told him, I said, don't. He said, well, what's going on? I said, man, wrestling's on right now at home.
Right. You're messing up my day.
It was just truth. And then Georgia Championship Wrestling at night at 5:05. I was lucky enough. I lived in a place where I got UWF for a while. Bill Watts out of Little Rock channels. Every so often, a Little Rock station would have WCCW on it out of Texas for some reason.
Yeah.
I got lucky and lived in a place where I've seen a lot of wrestling, but it consumed my life long before I got into it, and it still consumes my life to this day, Alan.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to have a normal, I'm using air quotes here, normal life once you're in the wrestling business, because like you said, everything that happens, every scenario you think of wrestling, how it relates or how you can control that with some kind of wrestling knowledge that you have. So yeah, I get it. But I remember as a kid too. So you said about the thing where you beating up your stuffed animal, and I used to fight. We'd have these big old pillows, and I was tearing up furniture and all kind of stuff in my grandmother's house. But I always did the brain buster. So I always get like I was a combination of Bill Dundee and Coco Beware. I'd use the brain buster, and I just thought I was going to be like Bill. But my sister, her favorite wrestler was Jerry Lawler. And then my cousin, the one that was going to train with me, he loved Austin Idol. And I was a Bill Dundee guy. So all three of us would be doing 6-man tags in the living room, just destroying furniture and pillows and stuff. And so I always acted as I was Bill. And so I swear it's meant to be. And now before that, my mom reminds me of this. So as a baby in my crib, I was climbing out the crib, and my grandfather was a carpenter his entire, life. As far as when he started having a job, he was a carpenter. He helped build the Mid-South Coliseum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But he built extensions on the side rails on my crib, so I couldn't climb out. So my ass climbed out of that too. And so then he put a top on it. And I was like, well, I was supposed to be a wrestler. Hell, I spent half my childhood in a cage.
That's what I'm thinking, man.
Yeah, that's my first cage match was in my baby crib. So, but yeah, my mom was like, she has no pictures, which drives me nuts because I'd blow that, put it up in my man cave. I put that on the wall somewhere up here. But man, she tells me, I was like, yeah, I was in a cage match from like 1.5 years old, So
Right.
yeah.
Well, look, dude, talk to me about that very first match. That very first match. How'd you feel? Was you nervous as hell? What was going on mentally with you, dude? Because it's nerve wracking. It was for me, man. I was so freaking nervous, dude. About
Yeah.
dumb stuff too, man.
Oh, well,
Just tripping, falling in the ring or something, man.
I remember getting in the ring the first time and thinking, please don't trip. Please don't trip, And then that's when I was doing the handsome stranger thing. So I'm walking out. I've got roses. I'm giving them to ladies in the crowd. You know what I mean? I've got
Right.
the tuxedo top with the tails. I've got the Lone Ranger looking mask on. And I wrestled Rude. And thankfully, because I was comfortable with, he helped train me some. So I was comfortable with being in the ring with him. So, and of course, first match, you're not going to go out there and have a WrestleMania main event. So it was a simple type, hip toss here, arm drag here, body slam, wrestling, but still simple. And I was so worried that I was just going to embarrass myself and make him look bad. But it went off without a hitch, man. It was really great. I was about 170, 175 at that point, and I was doing a crossbody off the top rope. And when I get up there, I just think Ricky Steamboat, Ricky Steamboat, Ricky Steamboat, and I jump and I won with the crossbody, and the fans came up, and I was like, oh, that's what I've been waiting on, So that was my very first match. Was in McKenzie, Tennessee. There was a guy training with us. His name was Bubba. And they called him Big Bubba because he did those strongman competitions where you like rip phone books and like strongest man in the world stuff.
Right.
I watched him take a frying pan and roll it up with his hands. And I remember Bill one day goes, Alan, get in there with Bubba. And I go, is there another Alan in here? Because you ain't talking to me.
Looking around for that dude named Alan back there behind
right.
you.
I'm the handsome stranger. Leave me alone. But I got in there and he goes, Bubba, pick him up. And so, gorilla press over the head. I not helping at all, didn't have to. And he goes, what do I do with him? And I said, set me down lightly. And he goes, slam him. And I was like, oh, I was worried if he tried to turn me, he's going to drop me right on my head. I said, dude, throw me straight up and walk forward. And so he did. I ate the mat and I go, well, I'm safe at least. But that guy was strong. Like you do like pulling airplanes and just stupid strong. But he owned the gym and he built a wall in there and used half of the building to put the ring in so that Bill shows we could do them in there. And we were doing those on Sundays, I want to say. But that was my very first match. And then I ended up the first time I wrestled out from underneath Bill's umbrella, I guess. Derek took me to Corinth with him. And Corinth at the time, man, that was 97, maybe early 98. That American Legion building was packed every Friday night. Now, I don't know, you could probably put less than 300 people in there, but inside that building with no chairs available, you would thought it was Andre and Hogan. That's the feeling I got when I first got there.
Right.
And I was sharing the locker room with like Don Bass, Doug and Tommy Gilbert, because Ronnie Grimes was booking a lot of the older guys. And then he had younger, like most people, headline, booking younger guys to fill up the card, you know what I mean? Have the fast-paced, action-packed matches, and then you're going to have the storytelling with the guys that know what the hell they're doing. So those guys, they would be the main event and all that type thing. And that's where I really, really got my foot in, because like once we started going there, I couldn't tell you. On Friday morning, I'd wake up and I'd be so energized and excited because I knew Friday night I was going to be wrestling.
Right.
And man, it was fantastic. And we did other shows for Rodney, but he did really well for himself at that American Legion building in Corinth.
Well, I think
And we
it's
had
his
a blast.
hometown and everything too.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Rodney always ran good shows too. Like you said, he always made a point to have a good mixture of veteran stars, like you said, storytellers, and young guys to have some action going on early in the show, man. Rodney always had some of the best shows. Tim Davis is with us. This is Buster, you the man. I appreciate it, Tim. I appreciate you watching. So look, Alan, take me through your first day at Power Pro, because I'm gonna tell you something. That's where I'm pretty sure. I think I'd heard about the Handsome Stranger thing because Derek always worked in Osceola. I always worked in Osceola, and I didn't know that was you or who you was at that time, but I remember hearing about the Handsome Stranger thing. But the first time I noticed Alan Steele was on Power Pro, and you made an impression because you can see that's where these come from, man. I remember all that stuff, dude. So talk to me about that first introduction into Power Pro and that kind of emotion going from now you are at Channel 5.
Right. So yeah, that's a dream come true. You know what I mean? That just being there was a dream come true. So I was wrestling, like I said, every Friday in Corinth, and I've been wrestling against Derek everywhere. And it came up to a time. So Power Pro had the WWE developmental deal at the time. So you had Steve Bradley, Kurt Angle, Mick Tierney, Vic Grimes, Glenn Kolka, all those guys were here. And so the story, from what I was told, was Randy Hales was looking for an opponent for Steve Bradley and asked Derek about me. And Derek was like, yeah, let Alan do it. Because it was me and somebody else. And Derek said, no, let Alan do it. Derek looked out for me. I mean, he really did. I ain't gonna lie. And so Derek calls me and he's like, hey, Randy Hales is about to call you. Make sure you answer the phone. Click. And I go, hello? So sure enough, right after that, my phone rings. It's an Arkansas phone number. And I answered it, and I'm sitting there talking to Randy Hales. I'm like, man, I just saw you on TV Saturday. So, but he asked me if I wanted to come down to the New Daisy, and I had a match, as a tryout match to be for Power Pro, and I got to wrestle Steve Bradley. And I don't know how familiar you are with Steve Bradley, but when
Bradley, man,
he was so freaking good, like self-taught for the most part, like self-trained. And he could do everything that Rob Van Dam was doing at the time. And people compared him to him because he wore the singlet. He had the ponytail. Right. But when I tell you, Steve Bradley like he walked in and he was obviously on another level than everybody else. Like he is a big reason that Kurt Angle got to where he got, because he helped train Kurt Angle while they were here. So I actually had to call Rodney Grimes, go, hey, not going to make it this Friday. I've got an opportunity to try out for Power Pro, but it's Friday night at the New Daisy. Rodney wasn't real happy, and I understand why. Right. I said, well, you're going to have to be mad today. I'm going. So went down there, had a good match with Steve Bradley. And then it's funny because it was Lance Jade was the other person that was supposed to do it. And because the ring announcer, I don't even know who that was at the time, he announced me as Lance Jade. Well, Downtown Bruno was the manager for Steve Bradley. And Downtown Bruno grabs the mic from the announcer, goes, you idiot, that's not Lance Jade. And he didn't even know my name at the time. He didn't know who was on the other side of the ring from Steve Bradley. All he knew was he was managing Steve Bradley. And he goes, this is Jay Brony. And so the crowd's laughing. I go, well, I'm screwed on this deal. Yeah. So, but had the match. We got the crowd. And I never forget this, because Steve Bradley trusted me enough, which is insane because we had never met. I gave him a backdrop. There was a ramp that went right up to the ring. Right. And we ended up doing something. Both ended up out on the outside of the ring, and he charged at me, and I backdropped him into the ring, and the crowd was like, "Ooh," because they didn't expect, that. And I remember when that happened, and I heard the crowd, I could feel it, and I was like, "Oh!" So then I was fired. Then I was Ricky Morton at that point. I was ready to roll, man. Got in there, and we had to finish the match. He pinned me with a power bomb, I think, is what he was using at the time. And but went to the back, and they said, "All right, we'll see you at TV tomorrow." I don't know if I slept that night. I swear I don't. I was so wired, man. And so then the down part about that is I go to Power Pro the next day, and they had me wrestling Derek. And so we go out there, we're having the match and everything. And I screwed something up, and I'm going, damn, I'm done. They're not going to, hey, you can't come on TV and screw up the match. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
But it got covered. Nobody really knew, which was great. And I had the match. Derek, I don't know if he was doing the super kick at that point or still doing that X-Pac thing, the face buster. I don't know which one he was doing, but he hit me with whatever finisher he was using and beat me. But I was at Power Pro till it ended. From that day, I got my foot in, and I stayed in. And something I always tell my trainees is that, honestly, I'm the last guy in Memphis to pay dues on television. Like I'm not counting anything modern day as far as Power Pro being the last. People are probably not going to like this. Power Pro to me is the last real Memphis wrestling.
Right.
As far as ran by people who really knew what they were doing, who have a background in wrestling, had the experience from the people before them,
Right.
had all this knowledge passed down, all this stuff. I look at Power Pro as that was the last one. And I don't know if you watched me on Power Pro, but before I had that bag of chips, I was getting my ass beat on a regular basis and did it with a smile on my face. And so when I see some of these young guys who get the boo-boo face when they can't win every time, I had zero tolerance and patience for that. And so I go, y'all just had no idea, because there was a guy one time who was wrestling. This was when Rikishi was down here as JR Smooth. And we were having a match. This guy came in and he claimed, and he told, I think he told Brandon Baxter, he said, Jim Cornette told me to tell y'all that, I can't lose. And I looked like, who the hell is this guy? And so the match was me and him versus Glenn Kolka and Matty Smalls, who was one of Rikishi's cousins or one of the dynasty. And he was massive, huge guy. And I'm going, okay, so is this a handicap match? So when I tell you, beat the hell out of me in the safest way possible. They were such pros. And I remember Rikishi pulling me to the side after the match. And he said, kid, you're going somewhere. He said, because you've got the right attitude. He said, your tag team partner, he won't ever make it. And I was like, I appreciate that, and I say, hey, I'm just here to do what I'm told. I'm here. I'm happy. Let's do it.
And I'm the same way with you. I don't think guys understand it, dude. I feel like I'm the same as you with USWA. I was the last guy there. I put everybody over there.
Yeah.
Before they put me over, and at that time,
right.
Guys like me who considered job boys at the time, they didn't get put over. No, never. So
never.
I put everybody over, and then one day I go in and matter of fact, it's Bulldog Reigns. Dutch tells me in Bulldog what we're gonna do. I'm going over, and after that match, hands me a booking sheet. I don't think guys realize that's what wrestling's about. That's
right.
That's part of the test to see if you're willing to do what it takes to be in this business. They tell you you're going under and you get the boo-boo face. you might as well leave right then, because you've already done stuck that bad impression in their mind. And I mean, now you got to try to fight past that for no telling how long. Where go in there, you're nobody. Go in there, do what these people asked you, earn their respect, earn their trust, and then hopefully something will come of it.
Right. And I mean, and on the flip side, because I have helped book a few events over the time, you can only focus on so many people at one time. You know what I mean? So just because you think you're supposed to win a match, well, it might not be your time just yet. You know what I mean? Let's get person A and person B established. That's what we're focusing on now.
Right.
The hell with you, to be honest. If you don't want to stay, there's the door. If you want to stick around, fine. But like you just said, now you put a bad taste in the booker and the promoter's mouth, more than likely. And so if they had a timeline in mind, or maybe we could start showcasing him around blah blah blah, you just push that back probably 6 months. You know what I mean? So now
no matter how much potential you got and they see in you, that's the quickest way to kill any thought of doing anything with you, no matter how far it is away. If they looked at you and thought, somewhere down the line, we can do something with this guy, you give them the attitude, most of the time it's done then. You really have to be there and reprove everything, work 10 times as hard, and shut up and be happy. Because the first thing they're going to do after that, you're definitely going to lose more than they may have planned on you losing, because they want to see what you're going to do, man. That's all part of it's all a test, man, and that's part of it. And I don't think guys understand that either, man. You're trying to become somebody. These guys are already somebody. Do what the hell you're told, man.
Absolutely. If you work at McDonald's and you're the fry guy and you decide that you just want to serve ice cream, well, there's a lot of people with job applications out there, and so if you're some gung-ho young wrestler who thinks you're something special, well, as soon as you walk out the door, there's probably 10 or 15 nowadays with social media. These people that own these promotions probably got just a list of messages in their inbox waiting on people to come work. So you're giving your spot away.
Like you said, there's always been somebody wanting your spot, or the spot you're trying to get. They trying to get it at the same time. And nowadays, like you said, it's tenfold. Where there might have been two guys fighting for the same spot you're fighting for, now there could be 100 guys that could fill that spot, dude.
Right.
And it's just, let me ask you this then. What do you think about, because I was broke in, nobody minced no words with you. Like you said, you got to the back, Jamie chewed your ass out. Nowadays, they don't do that, man. And so what's your thought of this? To me, it hurts the business as a whole, but it also, it conditions these young talent to a reality that ain't really true, man. It's better to be honest. To me, I'd rather someone be honest with me, tell me the facts of the matter, and tell me what I can do to improve that, hopefully, than I would tell me, hey, man, good match, good this, good that, and just glad hand you through. What's your thoughts on that, man?
I think not just in wrestling, but society in general is too soft.
Right.
When I first started going to Corinth, Tommy Gilbert was there, and I was like, wow, because I was a big fan of Eddie Gilbert. Eddie Gilbert had already passed, so I was upset because I never got to meet him. But Tommy Gilbert and Doug were working there, and I remember sitting and watching other guys who hadn't much more experience than I had go wrestle, come back and ask somebody else, and it wasn't necessarily a real veteran, ask somebody, hey, man, what'd you think of my match? Oh, it was great. They didn't even watch the damn thing. Right. They're lying to you. So I was wrestling, I think, against Johnny Dotson, actually, and I went up and I asked Tommy Gilbert, I said, sir, if you don't mind, will you watch this match and be just brutally honest with me? If I need to quit today, tell me. And I literally want to be told, find you something else to do, right. Because don't don't drag me along. Don't lead me on. So we came back and he goes, well, this was good. This was good. This needs work. And I was like, cool. He was like, I don't remember the specifics, but he was honest with me. And I think I asked Derek, did he watch the match? And he goes, yeah, he stood right over there at that door and watched the whole match. I said, okay, cool.
And you was probably the only guy who had the guts to go ask him to do that too.
And let me tell you, I had to muster that up because I was like, man, he's probably going to tell me to get the hell out of his face. And so I was like, well, all he's got to do is tell me once. I won't ask him again. So I went and asked him. And he was like, anytime. I said, thank you so much. And he was such a gentleman, a nice guy. But I think that you stunt the growth of these young guys by BSing them and fluffing them. You know what I mean?
You do.
I tell all my trainees, Sebastian just said, we ripped his several times. I tell them, look, if you want to hear what you want to hear, go ask somebody else. If you want to hear what you need to hear, come talk to me. We'll sit down. We can pull up whatever match you want. We'll watch the whole match together side by side. That way we can pause it. I can give you advice. Unpause it. Here we go. Stop it again. What the hell was that? I mean, I believe Bill Dundee, my mentor and trainer, has created words to cuss me with back in the day. So, I mean, that's part of it. And you're being coached. You know what I mean? Real coaches, only the players know or should how that conversation goes. Bill Parcells, any legendary coaches, I'm sure when the cameras aren't on them, they're like, you stupid mother beep. But you know what? You learn it. You learn it that way. If you go, well, here's what look, I don't have any children and I don't run a daycare. I'm going to tell you, I'm very blunt. I have very little, if no filter, and extremely low tolerance for bullshit. So I'm just going to tell you how it is, because if I finesse it to you, I'm not going to give you the full impact of what you need to hear. Right. And you're not going to fix it. You're going to put a Band-Aid on a gushing wound when you needed stitches. You know what I mean? You're not going to fix your problem. You're going to continue on to make the same mistakes, or even worse, or just new mistakes. If we could have fixed this mistake, it would have prevented these other mistakes.
Right.
I have a saying that I'm not a firefighter. I'm a fire preventer. So I'm going to try to teach you right from the start.
Exactly.
So that we don't have to get the fire extinguisher or the water hose and try to put these fires out. We don't start the damn fires if you're taught right.
It's hard. It's harder to break a bad habit than it is to teach someone the right way from the start.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just is, man.
It might be a little harder to do it the right way at first, but it saves you all this time and injury and effort in the long run, and it makes you look so much better and so much more like a pro. You know what I mean? So, we try to kill those bad habits, even just little slight things with footwork and that type thing. We're watching all that stuff, and people, when they come and ask me, hey, Alan, will you watch my match? I'll say, are you sure about that? Because I'm just telling you, I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing for you, because I wasn't sugarcoated. I didn't have that option when I started. So you don't get that option if I'm helping you. So I'm going to tell you how it is, and I'm not trying to be a complete jerk to anybody and make them cry or nothing like that. But I also think if you sugarcoat it too much, it becomes accepted, and it doesn't need to be accepted because it's terrible. So
pro wrestling is a cold, hard business. And I mean it. And if you want to be in it, you need to grow that. You need to get that skin thickened up, because that here's the thing. Pro wrestling is built on rejection. You get rejected, you get rejected, but you keep fighting until you get accepted. I mean,
right.
That's the thing. You cannot be soft. You cannot have that thin skin, man. And now you can, it feels like to me, because nobody tells none of these guys the truths and the facts. And here's the thing. As a young guy, you went up to Tommy Gilbert and said, hey, sir, would you please watch this match? Well, when you go out there, if you bobble a spot or something, you, keep in mind, I know it's hard as a young guy. As a young guy just starting out, you think it's over. Oh, he's going to think I'm the shits. But no, guys
Yeah.
like that with experience see the potential. Just because
Mhm.
you flubbed something somewhere maybe does not mean that they done throwed everything else you did out the window. They're watching the whole thing as a full picture, and they can see whether they believe you have some potential or not. And that's the most important thing. I mean, you can fix mess ups. It's as simple as that. You can fix mess ups. So
Yeah.
don't go out there and get discouraged, just like you talking about Bruno calling you Jay Brony. Here's the
Yeah.
thing. Just like making you lose to see how you're going to handle it. That's part of wrestling too, because
Right.
Bruno's seen exactly how you'd handle a situation like that. None of this is supposed to happen. None of this was planned. I'm going to go out here, and he probably didn't do it with ill intent. It's probably just the first
Mhm.
thing that popped into his head when he was on the mic.
Right.
But
Yeah.
once he come out, it was like, well, let's see how this kid handles this and deals with it. And that's part of it too, man. You can't get all butthurt over something like that. Look, and I've been in the business for about 5 years at this time, maybe 6. It's 1997 at the Lady Luck Casino, and I just started getting on the house shows and started getting to go into towns for USWA. So Dutch Mantel and Jerry Lawler is having this lumberjack match, and I'm out there too, which up till that point never got to be out there. So I'm
Right.
out there too, and Lawler worked me like a book, man. He comes out, Dutch is already out there. He comes out, does his intro, got the crown in his hands. He picks me out, looks dead at me, man. And I didn't catch it at the time, but I wish I had it now. He looks dead at me, and he don't even say nothing. He just, like he's going to hand the crown to me. And
Right.
what does my dumb ass do? I reach out for it. I'm sitting there thinking in my head, oh shit, man, I need to get this crown taken over to the announcer's table, because I'm thinking about I want to keep a job, you know. When
Right,
in
right.
reality, I should have done anything, told Lawler, jump back, so you hand me that crown, I'll squish it or anything, because it was just a test that I failed miserably. Lawler looked over at me and goes, idiot. And you know,
Right.
I never done nothing like that again. I'm a heel out there is the bad part. As a babyface, it might would have worked. Might not so
Right.
bad, but I'm out there on the heel side of the lumberjack match, and he goes to hand me that crown, and I just instinctually, man. I mean, I processed it in my head, but I didn't process it like I should have, man. It was like, oh
Right.
shit, I'm gonna take this crown and go. I guess I looked around, and you got Kane before he was Kane. You got Dutch.
Oh,
you got
right. Right.
Billy Joe. You got Rod Price. You got all these guys out there. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm the crown dude tonight. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I felt like an idiot. But man, it taught me that one thing. Taught me a lesson that I never have forgot to this day. Be who
Yeah.
the hell you're supposed to be out there. I don't care who it is. I don't care if Ric Flair goes to hand you the belt, you know, and you're out there as a lumberjack. You don't take that belt unless you're one of Ric Flair's guys, unless you're one of the Four Horsemen or something.
Right.
Never again did I make that mistake. But there's a lot of tests. Veteran wrestlers test young wrestlers with different stuff like that. You don't
Yeah.
even never think of, because you ain't got the experience to know how this business is.
Right. That's true. I mean, because they're so far ahead of you mentally that you don't stand a chance. I mean, like,
Right.
he's playing with you basically, you know, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, because it's like they say, you know, they're playing chess while we're over here playing checkers, you know, so they're way ahead of us. And you know, but hopefully you get that knowledge passed down from those guys, and that's what I tell the trainees. Again, look, half this stuff you're hearing from me is because I heard it from somebody else before me. You know,
Right.
from Bill, or I've done camps, you know, for WWE, and I've done what you were saying, like the botches and stuff or whatever, the missed spots. I was doing a tryout match for WWE. This is oh man, 10 years ago, 10 almost 11 years ago, and the guy I was in the ring with was good guy, a buddy of mine. But he was so scared and so nervous. I'm surprised he could get in the ring without falling down. And he was flubbing stuff, and I was covering it. And William Regal was literally on his elbow on the apron. That's how close he was to us, because he's who we were, dealing with while we were doing this 2 days. It was a Raw and a SmackDown. First day, we really didn't do nothing but talk and, just help out and whatever they needed. Second day, we got to get in the ring and show them what we could do, and also did promos. And I just remember, guy, he came off the ropes and gave me a shoulder tackle, and I hit the mat, wham! And I turned to look to see where he's at, and he was laying next to me. And I said, "Son of a bitch!" So, because William Regal said, "We don't know what you're doing. The only people that know what you're doing are the ones in the ring. The fans don't know if it's a mistake if you don't tell them it's a mistake." And I was like, ding, light bulb. You know what I mean? So even, I don't actively wrestle anymore. I don't. But I still remember all these moments that I had and all this knowledge that was dropped down. And I could quote all this stuff. And if a younger person asks me a question, I'm like, wait, who told me something? Oh, yeah, I did a camp for Mike Bucci. He said, do this, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, it's crazy. But anyway, I kind of got off on a tangent there. But the veterans, again, are miles ahead, because they've been through and made the mistakes that we're just now making. And that's what I tell them. I go, everything y'all are doing, I've already screwed it up before you. So let me tell you how to prevent this from snowballing into a big cluster, so that, you learn from your mistakes and you can teach from your mistakes. And so when I was helping train, we were, that was one of my goals, is like, hey, I want y'all he can't be mistake free, because you never know what the rope could break. You never know what's going to happen. So the things are going to happen, but we try to prepare them the best we could to be able to react and respond to any of those things. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, anyway, like I said, learn from the ones who paved that road. You know what I mean?
Right. I learned, man, I didn't really have a mentor until probably Moondog. And I wouldn't say he was a mentor, but I spent so much time in Osceola watching how he handled not only the guys and putting shows together, but the fans too, and just everything. I absorbed a lot that I didn't even realize I absorbed until I got a little older, Well, look, man, because we want to talk about TCW, because, man, I love TCW. But before we get there, let's backtrack a little bit. We've talked about Derek, and here's the thing. I don't think Derek gets enough credit around here for the niche, man. Here's the thing. Derek's one of the only guys. He carved out a spot for himself around this area in the history of Memphis wrestling. And he's helped, like you said, a lot of people probably think you and Derek started about the same time, because of Power Pro, if that's where they started, if they were young and that's kind of where they started. But Derek, I want to say, started in 1994. I remember Derek when he first kind of showed up in Osceola, just breaking in. So talk to me about Derek King for a few seconds, dude, before we move any further, man, because Derek, man, he's helped a lot of guys. He's been in the ring with everybody there is to be in the ring with, from the 90s up to 2010. And he's still out there doing it every night, every week to this point. So kind of talk to me about what Derek King means to you, man.
So I know you've probably heard that you're lucky at the end of your career if you can look back and have a handful of true friends in the wrestling business.
Absolutely.
Derek King is in my handful. Derek is the person I have to give the most credit to, honestly, for helping me early on. It's funny. I rib him a lot, a whole lot, actually. I'm a little older than Derek, so I'm like the older brother, although he helped break me into the wrestling business.
Right.
But I give him a hard time, probably more than I should. But I'm almost speechless. He's extremely extremely beneficial to not just me, but a lot of the guys that when Dyersburg, Tennessee was really like it had some legs. Um, he helped mold so many young guys. Um, the Stan Lees, the trendsetters, any young guy from that West Tennessee area, Derek put under his wing because he loves pro wrestling. He loves pro wrestling to a fault. I love pro wrestling. Don't get me wrong. I have come to terms with pro wrestling that it doesn't owe me anything, and I don't owe it anything either. I have broken even with pro wrestling at this point in my life.
Right.
Derek cannot stop, and we talk about it. Well, whenever he returns my phone call, which you know how that goes, we talk about it a lot. Him, his personal journey with wrestling nowadays. There would be no Alan Steele, literally, and I hope he's not watching this because his head's going to not fit through the doorway, but there would be no Alan Steele if there wasn't a Derek King. There would be a whole lot of us around here if it wasn't for Derek King.
Right.
Derek was always the guy who wasn't selfish enough. And I say that because he missed out on career opportunities because he never wanted to do it alone. Literally, he should have probably been a 10 plus year employee for WWE.
Right.
Should have been, hands down, should have been there at this point. Right now, he should be probably mentoring in NXT or something of that nature. Everybody in OVW, when OVW was the place, when you had Cena, Orton, Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin, that class of guys who they say was the best class that WWE's ever put out.
Right.
Derek was there training those guys on the job training. Him and Jason Lee were the Atomic Blondes or Suicide Blondes or something for Cornette. And they were in there with guys like Dinsmore and Trailer Park Trash and Flash Flanagan. They're the ones teaching Randy Orton and those guys how to work.
Right.
So Derek has not gotten his just due. It's kind of weird because there's a lot of guys who look up to Derek. And they're always the guys that are younger than him. But the ones older than him, you know, of course, wrestling's a selfish industry. They're still trying to keep their spot, even if they can't even walk to the ring anymore. They're still, you know, the star.
Right.
But I always looked at Memphis like it was a pecking order. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what I say that to say it was always Lawler and then Dundee. And then as they kind of got into the twilight of their in-ring days, you could see where it should have been Brian, right?
Exactly.
Should have been Brian Christopher. And then to me, on deck while Brian's at bat is Derek. That's my personal opinion. People may not agree. That's fine. But I think that Brian Christopher was going to be the main attraction in the Memphis Mid-South area. And then Derek King is sitting there waiting on him. He's the silver medalist at this point. He's waiting to get on that next, you know, to be the guy, right?
Right.
But Derek has been the guy in a lot of companies. He's one of the guys now in Osceola. He's there every Friday.
Right.
And he's helping young guys over there. Hell, he's helping some of the guys over there that's been wrestling for a while because depending on the quality of their training, they may not know all the little things, you know? So Derek's still helping when if he wanted to, he could say, them days are done for me. You know, let me come in, let me have my match, let me go home, pay me, let me go the hell home.
Right.
He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that because he knows, and we've had the conversation, if we don't pass it on to this next generation, then at some point it dies, right? I mean, I think every generation looks at the upcoming generation and can point out a whole lot of flaws. The Lawlers, the Dundees, the
Right.
Dutch Mantels, those guys could look at us when we started and go, "Oh, we're doomed.
Right.
We're screwed, guys. We're going to have to wrestle till we're 150 because these guys don't get it." And so now we can look at these guys who are breaking in and who are within their first 10 years and go, Jesus Christ, man. Derek, you can never retire because
Right.
somebody's got to stick around and show these guys how to do this the right way.
That's what I was thinking when you mentioned that Derek should be teaching in NXT or somewhere. Man, for Derek, that would be. I mean, he deserves it, and the payoff, he deserves that too.
Yeah.
But the first thing I thought about was the loss of the knowledge and the things Derek does for the guys around our area, because he is.
Right.
I mean, he is one of the guys, like you said, he loves wrestling to a fault. He don't have to do it
Right.
now, but he does it, and he don't only just go to TV and do TV. He's at these different house shows at these different companies, Friday, Saturday night, Sundays. He still loves this. He won't. Not only does he want to teach and help, but he also still loves being in the ring and wrestling.
Yeah. We had lunch together yesterday. So there's a group of us. We call it the round table. And it's Poker Face, Derek King, myself, and Blaylock the Blazer. And we meet up once a month. I put this group together. It's supposed to be about 8 guys, but several of them didn't ever show up and or couldn't follow the guideline or the structure of the group. So
Right.
they got booted out. So I knew and still know that my days of traveling every weekend and wrestling and those are gone. I'm not a every weekend guy. I'm right now. I'm not a every anything guy. But
Right.
I wanted to certain guys like my handful and a few others who I respect and enjoy being around in the locker rooms and stuff. I wanted to meet up once a month and just kick it, hang out, shoot the breeze, talk trash, do what guys do. We have a locker room setting at whatever restaurant we pick for this time.
Right.
So we went to lunch yesterday and he starts looking at his watch and I go, what you got a hot date or, what's going on? And he's like, no, man, I got to get on the road. I got to get to Trenton. I said, what are you doing in Trenton? He goes, well, I'm wrestling. I said, man, I said, take your ass home. and he goes, no, I got to go. And he was wrestling Coco Anderson last night. And so I was like, well, I just told him, I said, at least you still love it. And I love it. I mean, honestly, I really do. And I think that, well, we'll get there when we talk about TCW, but when TCW went out of business, my passion and desire dropped heavily.
Right.
But no, as far as Derek goes, again, there wouldn't be an Alan Steele without a Derek King. We beat the hell out of each other. I've made him bleed puddles of blood. I beat up his uncle, air quotes. I mean, we've spent many hours in vehicles together, in locker rooms together, and standing across the ring from each other. He did drop the ball though. I came up with this very creative idea for us to be a tag team, and he said he was all for it, but then he dropped the ball and never pulled his weight, and so it never came into fruition. Not the way that I really wanted to do it. And so I told him, I said, well, you just screwed us both out of our WWE contracts because you don't want to do this gimmick. So,
Okay,
but
so
no.
let me ask you this. Derek, I had Derek on probably 4 or 5 months ago. One of my most favorite shows I ever did, man. Derek come on and he opened up and, man, he opened up way further than I ever expected him to.
Yeah, I was.
If I'm remembering right, was the tag team DNA?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so here's the whole setup. So DNA, which is literally Derek and Allen is what it stands for. I came up with this very far-fetched WWE light storyline of they. So let me just, from the director standpoint, they're shooting into a hospital and there's a pregnant woman about to have a kid or give birth, and the doctor walks in and goes, "Ma'am, do you know you're having twins?" She's freaking out. She's crying, she's the whole labor childbirth thing. The doctor delivers the babies, everybody's healthy, whatever. Fast forward, you see from the back, you see a man standing at the window looking at the children. And the doctor and the nurse walks up and goes, "Yes, sir. Here's your son." And he's looking, and it's Ron Simmons, is the dad. So he's looking and he sees Derek and he goes, "Oh man, I'm so proud of my son, blah, 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 blah." And she goes, "And then your other son," and it points over here to this white kid, and it's me. And he goes, "What the hell?" And he goes, "Damn." And then runs out of the hospital and, he's gone, leaves the wife in there, leaves the kids. You never see Ron Simmons again. And then fast forward, and it's a scene where there's a kid walking down the street, and around the corner is another kid walking, and they're walking right into each other. And they come around the corner, they meet, run into each other, drop everything they have in their hands, and they look at each other and they do the doink thing with the mirror thing, like, what the hell? And then they realize, holy shit, that's me. And they hug, and it's a real stupid, over the top version of introducing this tag team. And the story is there's a mutated strand of DNA, which makes these two guys who look nothing alike identical twins. Right. So that's the introduction to us going and being a tag team. And Derek didn't want to pull the strings on it, so it's all right.
I will be honest with you, I love it. I love shit like that. Derek, you shit the bed on this one, man.
Yeah, he did.
Yes,
he did.
Awesome, dude. I love it, man. Dude, here's the thing. When somebody tells me something and I can visualize it and see it happen, that's part of what wrestling's about too, man.
Right.
Like if I'm thinking of something to do, it ain't just ideas or words on a paper or anything. I see it in my head. I see the whatever it is, I can see it in my head, and that's part of wrestling too. You got to be able to visualize these ideas. Because sometimes just telling somebody, and if they're just listening and not really putting the pictures together in their head, what may sound stupid is awesome if you're able to visualize the scene and
right. And
what's going on.
I just thought that, if I got the opportunity to present that to WWE Creative and they could take it and run with it and make it their own, there's no telling how great that could have been. Right. Right. I mean, it's corny and it's goofy. I get it, but hell, it's a paycheck and I'll take it. So right. I just think that some of them would have been like, "This is fantastic." Some would be like, "What's wrong with you? What'd you think of this?" And so, hey, let's meet in the middle. Let's do business, so, but yeah, I thought it would have been great.
And until you put it out to the fans and see how the fans react to it, nobody knows. And it don't matter what I think about it or even what you think about it. What really matters is once we put it out there, what the fans think about it. And if they love it, it's good, man.
Santino Marella and Mick Foley got over with socks on their arms. So who's to say, we could be WWE Tag Champions tomorrow. You never know.
Right. So look, Alan, we've kind of talked about it and mentioned it. TCW, dude. I got out of the business in 2002, and I didn't never like mentally fully get out. I kind of kept an eye on the business, but you kind of disappeared on me. I don't know whether maybe did you work Memphis Wrestling, Corey Macklin's versions? You did, didn't you?
For a cup of coffee, yeah.
Okay.
Me and Corey didn't get along very well, so I ended up getting fired, to be honest, which I was going to quit anyway. But I ended up getting fired. I did something. It was stupid looking back, but at the time they had me doing something that was really stupid, I thought. And so I was trying to make the best out of a situation. And I didn't realize I was kind of stepping on toes of other people at the time. But the way that he handled it, and I just honestly, I didn't have a lot of respect for Corey Macklin because I didn't think he was knowledgeable enough to be in the position that he was in. That's not a knock. I mean, there's a lot of guys today that shouldn't be in the business at all.
Right.
But I just thought that, he didn't have the right to be the way he did because he doesn't know a damn thing. And that was, if Lawler had chewed me up one side down the other, or if Bill had done it,
right,
fine. But Corey Macklin, look, dude, you don't even know the names of the moves. Everything's a big move to you.
right.
So don't yell at me because I'm gonna yell back, So, but that's still wrong way to approach that. But at the time, in the moment, I thought me and Corey would come to blows at TV one day, and I was like, yeah, it's best if I just don't go back. So,
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I was there for a little bit. And then I tried to watch it, and I just didn't care for it. I really didn't. So I did disappear as far as Memphis TV went for a while. Yeah, I sure did.
That's what I'm saying. I remember you from Power Pro. Like I said, I got out of the business in 2002, and I kind of kept up with it, but you disappeared on me. You kind of, and you know how wrestling is. Sometimes it takes you months to realize you ain't seen somebody in a while. Somebody does something, you think, well, damn, that's something Alan Steele used to do or something, and you're like, where the hell is Alan? Then I seen you pop up on TCW, which to me, at that time, and I'm talking about even because that was at the time WWE was at some of its most stagnant time. Whatever else was out there, I don't even remember. I thought TCW was the best television wrestling product in the business, even over the big boys. But man, I'm watching it one day, and all of a sudden, here you come. You got a tag team partner. Is it Genetic Perfection?
Yep.
Dude, that was a totally different Alan Steele. Right then, I mean, you'd always been the Power Pro guy in my eyes. And then you disappeared, and then the next time I seen you, man, you've done put on all this size. You've done filled out. And your attitude seemed different to me. That's what got me, man. When I seen you guys, man, I was blown away, man. I thought, this dude right here is ready to be in the big show right now. Should be there right now. So talk to me about TCW. And was there a light switch moment where you kind of transitioned from all that Alan Steele to this new guy? Because totally different guy, dude, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know. It was a light bulb moment. I just got real comfortable in my skin. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I had been in the ring with a lot of quality people. And that's something like Sir Mo from Men on a Mission always took care of me as far as booking stuff goes. He always put me in the ring with somebody that I could learn from, or that I could, he knew how competitive I was. I wanted to go out and I wanted to have the best match. That didn't mean I wanted to do the most flips or no crap like that. I just wanted to have the best match. I wanted that puppeteer action with the crowd. I wanted to be able to control. And he booked me against people like Shane Douglas, Jerry Lynn, Chris Masters, Carlito. And I always took it as a challenge. I was like, all right, my job is to pull my weight in this match. I don't have to outshine this guy. There's nothing I have to do to better my opponent. But when I'm done with this match, I want to feel like I did my part. And that's all I cared about. I got very comfortable and confident in psychologically knowing what the hell I was doing.
Right.
I've been called a ring general a lot. And I got, after about 5 years in, I was rolling, dude. You couldn't put me in a scenario where I would be uncomfortable or unprepared. I
Right.
I could walk to the ring, first time I ever met a guy, and go out there and have a hell of a match with them, even if they weren't qualified to be in that ring with me. Jeremy Moore, I don't know if you know who Jeremy Moore is, but his dad owned a wrestling company in either New Bern or Dyersburg or somewhere up there. Jeremy was not ready to be in the ring, and they put him in the ring with me. And when we got done, came to the back, we got a standing ovation from the locker room. And I remember thinking, what is this about? And they were like, dude, you made that guy look like he was a star. I said,
Right.
that's the job. That's my job. That's the whole reason I'm here. So I got real comfortable with, I always say, driving the car. You know what I mean? Like, I can hear the crowd. I can say I can tell because they responded to this that they will respond to this. So I give them what they want. You know what I mean? So I got real comfortable. Like I said, I've said that 12 times now. But I got contacted by Matt Riviera, who was a good friend of mine, and he was going to start TCW, and he was handpicking his locker room. He was traveling around, and he was bringing some guys from Texas. Like this was legit. TCW was legit.
Yeah, no, it wasn't no little promotion either. That's the one thing that drawed me to it because of the different talent from all over the place that I would see there,
right.
man. And
You had guys,
all quality talent. These wasn't some half-ass guys off the street. Everybody, from what I don't remember ever seeing a bad TCW match. I enjoyed every single show, and I hated it when it went off the air, dude, and kind of disappeared,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. To put on that type of event, that quality event, you spend a lot of money. So, when you're not getting that return on the investment like you were planning, and there was a business deal that fell apart at the last minute kind of thing, where he had how Ring of Honor got bought by whatever Sinclair Broadcasting.
Right.
TCW was on the verge of being purchased by a broadcasting company, and that was going to launch TCW or keep TCW current and relevant for years and years to come. My tag partner, my cuz, he and I were going to get the first contracts. We were already pulled to the side and told, this deal goes through, y'all are getting signed to the first talent contracts. And I had all my eggs in one basket, and it didn't happen. And that's why I was like deflated after that went out of business. But Matt was bringing in guys from Texas, Tennessee, Virginia, just all over, Louisiana, Mississippi. Like, it wasn't like, if you go up to Dyersburg, and I say that just because Dyersburg's had a million wrestling companies in it since I started.
Right.
You see the same guys over and over and over. You know what I mean? Well, TCW, you had a core group, but then you saw new people all the time, and then he was bringing in Jake the Snake, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I mean, he was bringing in these fans that, because that's Bill Watts' area is where he was running over there.
Right.
And so he was bringing in guys that used to work for Watts. And so the fans were coming out. Man, when I tell you, there was multiple times that I would peek out the window of the locker room I was in, and I could see the fans wrapped around the building. That's no exaggeration. When I could be in the worst mood, not wanting to be there, the hell with the wrestling business, yada, 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 and look at those blinds and see that.
Right.
And I'd look at my partner and I go, lace them up, buddy. It's time to work. It's time to work. But no, when I got there, he put me with a manager, Mr. Rude, Rich Rude. And Rich Mr. Rude is what I always call him, was green. He was new to the business. And so I was just like, look, man, we'll keep this real simple. I'll draw the ref. That's when you get your stuff in. When you see me coming back to you, let them go. And so we put so much heat on Mr. Rude that I didn't have to do a lot. You know what I mean? It was really easy for me to get all the heat that I needed. And at one point, they called me the measuring stick for the company. If you wanted to come in and have a tryout with TCW, you had to step in the ring with me first. And if I didn't give the thumbs up, you didn't come back. Right. If I gave the thumbs down, you didn't come back. So I did that with a few people. Jamie J came and worked. He had to work me. Some guys, everybody that came in, their first match was with Alan Steele. But it's weird because the tag team Public Enemy, you remember them from ECW, and I guess they were in WCW too?
I think they had a little cup of coffee in WWF too.
They did until the Acolytes beat their ass.
Right.
So there's a story where they used to wrestle each other all the time, traveling around on, indies. And apparently Paul E decided, hey, let's see what these guys, they work together against each other. Let's see how they work together as a team, put them together as a team, and they just had chemistry.
Right.
Well, my tag partner, we were wrestling against each other one night in this armory, and I don't remember what small town it was in Arkansas, but I remember literally ran out of chairs. People were paying to stand against the wall, and the fire marshal threatened to shut it down because they were piling too many folks in.
That's a good problem, though. That's a good problem.
That's a very good problem to have, yes. It's the first time I ever met my cuz. And we wrestled against each other. And when I first locked up with him, I was like, okay, I can work with this guy. I knew right away. We had a really good match. And I'm out there doing stuff I shouldn't be doing with a guy that first time we've ever locked up. I'm taking backdrops on the floor. Just doing stupid stuff, just trying to get the crowd, their money's worth.
Right.
And I get to the back and I'm just looking at him. And I go, hey, man, is it just me or do we kind of resemble each other? And he goes, yeah, I can see that. I said, all right, are you opposed to being in a tag team? He goes, So we talked to Matt, and I said, I got an idea, because he was trying to think of something to really launch his tag team division. And the singles big pushes and run was going to be for like Tim Storm. And I don't remember who he had facing Storm at the time, but Tim Storm was going to be the main focal point. Was that big singles title. So I was like, man, I think tag team would be fun. You got 4 guys out there. You create more excitement. I'm sitting there thinking about Rock and Roll versus Midnight, and how they would just go. And so I pitched the idea of he and I being tag team partners. And I said, we'll tell them that we're cousins like the Andersons. Hell, Arn and Ole didn't look that much alike. They favored, but they didn't look like twins or nothing. So so as far as everybody else knows, we're second cousins. And from that day on, we started tagging, and it was the most fun I've had in my entire career, hands down. But as far as, like you said, a different version of me, I got
you kind of
very confident. I got very confident, and I got sick of seeing people powder puff in the ring, and I just started knocking the shit out of people, and safely. But if you took a club from me in the back, or if you took a clothesline from me, it was there. You didn't have to guess. You know what I mean? That if you had to sell that or not, there was no guessing involved when you stepped in the ring with Alan. So, yeah, I hit the ground running, and I was just trying to, make the most out of what they were giving us. And I mean, had the most fun I've ever had in my life. I mean, outside, inside the wrestling business, hands down, man. It's nothing close.
Right. And the confidence, man, like you said, it takes years. Sometimes it takes, every guy's different, but you can be good and you can be really good. But when your confidence hits that certain level where there's a difference in knowing you're good and being arrogant about being you're good. You know what I mean? When you know you
Right.
can go out there and no matter what someone gives you or what situation they put you in, you can figure out how to make it work. That's a big confidence boost. And once that confidence is up, pro wrestling to me is a lot about confidence, man. I
Oh
see
yeah.
guys all the time who are killer wrestlers and could be awesome. And I see them times when their confidence is up, they have these awesome matches. And other times when you can tell their confidence is low, they have these B grade matches. And that just, I mean, to me, it just proves the fact that when your confidence gets to that level it needs to be, that's when you kind of reach a whole new level in the wrestling game. When you're confident in your own ability, because we're all unsure until we're sure. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? In the wrestling
Right.
business, whether it takes you 5 years, 8 years, or 10 years, we're all somewhat unsure until it just all seems to click and you realize, man, I can do this, you know. And once you realize I can do this and I'm decent at it, to me, man, like I said, that was a total different Alan Steele. But now that we've talked about it, the Alan of before, I can see the unsureness now that I've said that.
Yeah.
No matter how good you were, you still didn't have the full confidence in yourself. And man,
Right.
when I seen you on TCW, man, I thought, this is the dude right here, man. This is the guy. He's got everything. He's got the look. He's got the size. He's got the charisma. He's got the talent in the ring. Here's the thing. You can have the look, the size, and the charisma, but if the bell rings and you ain't got the talent to
Ooh.
pull it off in the ring, you can
Right.
kill all that can be for naught. So at the end of the
Yeah.
day, for me, look, I can take guys who are limitedly talented in the ring, but entertaining, and I can figure out entertaining stuff to do with them for 3, 4, 5 months maybe, but there comes a point where they've got to then get in the ring and show it in the ring if you want
Hmm.
it to go any further. And that's what I seen in you, man. I thought, man, this dude is the total package here now. And TCW still to this day, I think if they would start repeating some of them old shows, they would hold up with any of the TV shows out here now, dude. They would.
They still play. They still play in Arkansas somewhere, I think.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, I think so. They renewed a contract like this past year or something.
Dude, at that time, I don't remember if I don't even think WCW was out of business by then. But it was the best TV product. Even I don't remember if there was something going on in Memphis or not. I don't remember, but it was better than anything there if there was. It was better than it's better than pretty much most of the WWEF at that time or E whatever it was by then, because that was one of the times
Right.
where it was super stagnant, and TCW was like a breath of fresh air to a wrestling fan, man. And I just discovered it. I got digital cable when it first started coming around, digital cable, and I was living in Marktree, and I got digital cable, and it gave me some Arkansas channels that I didn't normally get. And
Right.
I found TCW, and I think before it was over, y'all were on KAIT out of Jonesboro too, wasn't you?
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man, one of the best companies. Companies to this day still. I enjoy TCW better than a lot of the wrestling out there. Bluff City Wrestling's with us. Says, what's up, my brothers? The King superstar Johnny Dotson is on. So, Alan, we've talked about Derek. So,
Yeah.
talk to me about Johnny, because Johnny's also a dude, man. He's been around a long time, trained by Bill Dundee. Y'all have run the roads together. You've wrestled each other. You have a history and a relationship. So talk to me about Johnny Dotson as a person to you, and then Johnny Dotson, the wrestler, man.
So Johnny's another one of my handful. Um, it's he's been doing the wrestling thing probably 2 weeks less than me because I started with Bill a week or two before he showed up. And I remember the day he showed up, Bill was, well, everybody was super impressed with how athletic he was. Now he weighed about as much as my cell phone at the time, but
Right.
he was super athletic. And I remember he did Bill wanted to try a forward flip bump, right? He nailed it on the first try. So then I go, all right, I don't like this guy because I was struggling. I was
Right.
struggling. But Johnny was so as a person, he's he's there. He's at the one at the top of my list, and some people don't understand that because of Johnny's personality at times. Johnny's my guy. Uh, there's been some times where we thought we were going to get into some scuffles with some other guys, and we always had each other's back. Um, even at Channel 5, one
Right.
time, Johnny didn't know how to reel it in at times. You know, we all have to learn how to play that politic game. And Johnny wasn't about it early on. Johnny had to grow up and become a man. He was still acting like a child when he first got in the wrestling business. Um, he it took him a while to mature, and he never stood for any disrespect. And
Right.
that part I don't blame him for, but also thought I was going to be pulled into it because if they jumped on him, then I was coming to the rescue, and vice versa. He would have
Right.
had my back too. Uh, Johnny Dodson is misunderstood by the average person, or average, and I say not the average person, but the average person who sits around and watches social media.
Right.
He's misunderstood a lot by that. Johnny makes a lot of mistakes also with that. So sometimes I'm like, dude, you come on, you can't say that or say that differently or whatever. Johnny's an emotional guy, and sometimes he lets that get in his way. Um, but I think he mentioned this when he was on with you that I'm actually the godfather of his child. You know what I mean? So
Right.
there's a connection there with me and Johnny that bookers and promoters don't get. I may not agree with everything that he does. I don't agree with everything that he does, and I'm certain he doesn't agree with everything that I do. We're two grown ass men, and we're not necessarily going to look at everything the same way. Um, but he's one of the ones that I go to bat for more than others. I mean, I hope his company is as successful as he dreams for it to be.
Right.
I hope that the right people get put in the right positions for that to happen. It's going to take a lot of help. It's going to, for anything around here to really take off, it's going to take a lot of minds and hands working together.
A lot of
But
open minds too.
you've got to be open minded, right, and creative, and and you have to be professional, whatever that means to you. You have to be professional. You know what I mean? So, because everybody's definition of success is different.
Right.
My definition of success was different than Johnny's, than Derek's, than Flex, who was in Too Cool Too, never really wanted to be a WWE superstar. I remember when he got to Channel 5, he said, I could quit today and I'm done and I'm satisfied. And I remember looking at him like that didn't make sense to me. But at the same time, I got it. But, I was like, why are you stopping here? Who am I to determine somebody else's goals? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So anyway, that's getting off subject. But no, Johnny Dodson as a person, I said it one time when we were on Dustin Starr's show. Is my A1 since day one. So even if I don't agree with what he does or what he says, at the end of the day, the stuff I don't agree with him is wrestling related. The things I do agree with him on is real life.
Right.
And him and the guys that are special to me, I hope know who they are because I try to let them know. But he's one of those guys that I will go to bat for as long as I can bat. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even if I think he's not totally in the right. I mean, I'll go to bat for him, and then we're gonna have a side conversation to be like, "Hey, man, you got to chill out on some of this crap because now you're making me look bad. I'm sticking my neck out."
I'm gonna fight with you, but after this
Yeah.
over, I'm gonna kick your ass, man.
I might fight you. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So, but and then like as far as him as a wrestler, again, the athleticism that he had early on was ridiculous. At the time, there was nobody around here like that. You know what I mean? There were some guys who could do some stuff, but Johnny, he just moved so well naturally in the ring as far as he could jump out the gym. He could, and he did, I guess, lucha libre, not necessarily just working whatever body part you can get a hold of, but as far as, he did more of a cruiserweight style.
Right.
When there wasn't many cruiserweights doing it in the Memphis and Mid-South area. So he stuck out like a sore thumb because of his athleticism. But Johnny's background and attitude sometimes probably messed him out of some opportunities. Again, like when we were doing, Dustin's show, Johnny's got so much stuff going on in his real life. He's a preacher at a church in Eads, Tennessee every Sunday.
Right.
So when you're filming television on Sunday and you're expecting everybody to be there at 11 o'clock, well, guess what time the morning service starts?
Exactly.
At 11 o'clock. So
right.
I was, they were trying to think of what to do with Johnny. And I said, put him with me. I got it. Just give him to me. And
right.
so,
well,
I mean, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's kind of where we were headed to is, you and Johnny were, if I'm remembering right, you're the first actual new version of Memphis wrestling. You were the first champion, right? The very first one.
Yeah.
And Johnny was by your side. I mean, you and Johnny were together during that run.
He was like the manager that wrestled every now and then, because of his, real life schedule. So
right.
he couldn't be there. And, sometimes he couldn't be there. If you're filming 4 TV episodes in a day or maybe 3, he might miss the half of the first one. Well, I can go out there by myself and do something, give a reason that I'm by myself. And then by episode 2, ta-da, look who's with me this week,
right.
So, but I was the first champion there. And honestly, I mean, the goal was to build Brett Michaels,
right.
and I think we did. I mean, he was over,
so that's one thing. He's wonderful job with him, man. Wonderful job. He went from just being a dude to being the gun show.
Yeah.
Wonderful job with him. I've always thought that another kid, man, he's young, but man, he's kind of got the golden ticket is Big John Dalton. Man, it feels like that most guys don't get the opportunity to work with the experienced guys he's got to work with on television and also be nurtured the way he has. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he's another one that's been an excellent. I mean, he ought to make other young guys jealous because that's the spot a lot of young guys probably wish they were in.
Right.
But Brett Michaels, I think y'all did an awesome job with him, man.
Yeah, I mean, you look at him and he looks like a damn action figure. You know what I mean? It looked like he can't be hurt.
Right.
So you got to put him in there with somebody who's believable to where the fans will actually believe what you're doing to him. You know what I mean? So when we first showed up, he had won that Cobra Cup, and then we attacked him, and it didn't look like a wrestling match. It looked like a beatdown in the street. I mean, he started fighting back. We ankle dove his ass and took his big ass down and put a whooping on him. And it broke his trophy, and and then we're off to the races at that point. And then finally, when he won the title from me, I took that as my opportunity to get off TV. So we talked about my health issues early on. I again lost my motivation and stuff after TCW went out of business, and then when I heard that Dustin was starting a company, I wanted to help. I wanted to, because my bucket list or my goals, I've checked literally every single box I ever set forth. And then I added later on, I would like to do something to help Memphis wrestling grow and be established and matter again. Because for a while it was like, and I've even said it myself, it's like Memphis wrestling went from the hotbed to the deathbed. You know what I mean? It just it flatlined, and it was just awful crap going on. And I was like, maybe if we could get something going, and then Dustin was going to start that company. And I really didn't want to even be on the show. And just because I had gotten out of shape, I wasn't training. I didn't have confidence in myself. It's just weird. I heard Ric Flair say similar things one time, and I go, how the hell is that? You're Ric Flair. But, not that I'm pleased. I'm definitely not comparing myself to Ric Flair, but I know exactly what he's talking about, because I didn't want to go out on TV and people go, wait, that's Alan Steele? Especially after they saw, like you said, I put a lot of work in TCW. I was proud of everything I did. So to me, I was sitting on a high. I didn't sit around and brag on myself, but I had a lot of people who would brag on me because of my work. You know what I mean? So when I looked at myself in the mirror, and more people need to do this, I realized that I don't have it right now. I don't have what it takes to go out here and be competitive like I would want to be. I've gotten out of shape. I'm overweight. I'm slow. I'm older. Shit hurts on me for no reason at all. I mean, so I wasn't in a position to really compete, but I was, I guess, convinced and decided to, that since I wanted to help, that I was going to do what I was asked to do. So I won the title and passed it to Brett, and Brett got a hell of a reaction and had a hell of a run. And I think he's had the title twice now, maybe 3 times. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that made him I think that's what made him there. That's what put him over the edge with everybody, man. That's what made him the guy.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But I didn't feel like I was in a good spot, and that's mentally and physically to be on a television wrestling show.
And wrestling's a lot about desire too. If your desire to actually be in there starts waning, that plays into your confidence waning. They kind of both work together. And I fully understand it. I took a bump a few weeks ago, about a month ago in the ring. First bump I've took in 9 years. And dude, when I hit that, man, it hurt so damn bad, man. I laid down. I didn't even get up. I rolled out from under the rope, man. I'm like, oh, shit.
Right. Yeah. You got to build up a tolerance to that stuff, man. It's like you build up scar tissue to where you don't feel it. And, but he's not lying. I didn't want the belt. I didn't want to be on the show. I actually came up with a storyline to where I wouldn't be on the air except for, like, I'd be an agent. Like, you'd see me come out and break up fights or come out. I told him, hell, I'll come out and get the ring jackets, but I just didn't want to wrestle. But I did it, and I did it to the best of my ability most of the time, for what I could do at that time. But I mean, if you watch it, if you see me, you see I was heavier, slower. So I covered up my body completely.
Right.
which Dustin wanted a different look anyway. Um, excuse me. He actually he described the look like when Sheamus was coming out with the suspenders and the rolled up sleeves, and like he just looked like some guy who was sitting at the end of the bar, just chugging some beers, and then all of a sudden breaks out into a fight in the bar.
Right.
He kind of that's kind of what he wanted from me, and I just want to be Alan Steele,
It's hard to
so
be
I just
something
I
you're
can't
not.
fake it.
Here's the
I
thing.
can't fake it.
If you can find any piece of you that really is that thing, you
Yeah.
can exploit it and use it. But if it's totally something you're not 100% not in real life, or it's not part of your
Right.
personality, man, I'm the same way. I cannot be what I'm not.
Right. I mean, if I don't believe it myself, I can't convince other people to believe in it either. So,
Johnny's
well,
steady.
he's
Steady
trying.
to get you in the ring, man.
Yeah, I know it. I mean, I'm not saying I won't, and I'm not saying that I will. I've got to do some serious training, like
Right.
in the ring, in the gym, because I know what he's planning. I know that event that he's got coming up, and it's, to me, could be a very big deal, and
Right.
I would love to be part of a big deal. So we'll see. I mean, I ain't signing no contracts on your show or nothing right now. So, but we'll play that by ear. But
I think
yeah,
it's something that you should be a part of, man. You're part of the history of this area, dude. I think your spot's there waiting on you, man.
well, there's a lot of people that kind of look at me and Derek at a certain level above a lot of other people, to be honest. And that's not patting myself on the back or nothing. But like I said, I always thought Derek should have fallen in line right behind Brian Christopher. And then after Derek, you kind of got 2 or 3 guys you could choose from who had, that the amount of experience, the amount of exposure in places that matter and you do real business. There's very few guys around who have resumes that resemble Derek's, Johnny's, mine, or Poker Face's, to be honest.
Right.
It's not a knock on anybody else, but and you've done stuff with.
It is, dude. That's the
Right.
facts are the facts. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Right, but we said how soft people are these days. So when you start saying stuff again, Johnny sometimes says, compare your resume to mine, and I get it because me and him have had those conversations, and I told him, I said, hey, tell him this, but there's only 4 or 5 guys whose resumes do match up, or supersede. And once you get past that around here, then you got to go up to like a Wolfie D, or, because Brian's not around anymore, a Wolfie, a Jamie, that generation. And then you go up from there to the Lawlers, the Dundees, all those guys. But anyway, Johnny as a wrestler, again, freak athleticism at the time. In Corinth, we had a good old boy down there slinging some terminology around at him during the match that we don't fly with him or myself.
Right.
And I don't know if he told you the story where we set the guy up and Johnny kicked his teeth out of his mouth. But we were fighting, and I rolled out of the ring and I sat right in the guy's lap after he had said it. And Johnny came with a front kick or a super kick or something. And I moved, and that guy was 3 rows back. And I grabbed Johnny and threw him in the ring. I go, let's get this over with. So we finished the match and got the hell to the back. So, But yeah, I don't know. That guy might be allergic to that word now. He probably never say that again. He had his face rearranged. But no, that he's in my handful of guys that would go to bat for every day of the week, And again, I don't know that Johnny and I have ever had a disagreement or an argument. Now, like something that escalated into an argument. Now, we probably disagree on a lot of stuff. but at the same time, we're grown, and so we can talk about it, and
Right.
come to we're either going to agree to disagree, or somebody's going to say, "Dude, you're right. Hell, my bad." And but it's never escalated into a yelling match or nothing with him. You know what I mean? That he's delusional with this garbage right here.
Right.
Completely delusional. Uh, but most wrestling promoters are delusional, so he's falling right into his spot. But he, yeah, he does listen. That's true. So, but yeah, no, he's one of my guys, man. And then there's a few more, but Derek and him, and of course, they had their spat, recently, and I don't think it's 100% healed or recovered from yet. But hopefully, time will heal those wounds, and everybody get back on the same page and be one big happy family again. So we'll see.
Right. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Look, up until Bluff City started, me and Johnny only knew each other as wrestlers. And when I say only knew each other as wrestlers, I'm talking about, I didn't know nothing about Johnny personally whatsoever.
Right.
And look, when Bluff City first started, me and Johnny's had some knockdown, drag out, not only on Facebook in comments, but personal. While we're on Facebook going back and forth in comments, we're also going back and forth in private messages, threatening to kick each other's ass. And
Right.
but somewhere along the way, man, once we kind of met up, talked, and I started getting to know Johnny Dotson, the man.
Yeah.
Dude, Johnny Dotson, the man, is exactly what he claims to be. He's a straightforward, and like you said, he shoots it straight, man, and he says what's on his mind. And a lot of people in this day's wrestling business, that gets heat because they don't want to hear the truth a lot of times. They
Right.
don't want to hear the facts. But dude, my opinion of Johnny Dotson, the more I've gotten to know him as a person, has made my opinion of Johnny Dotson, the wrestler, grow even more. Here's the thing. Just like you and Johnny, me and Johnny can talk, and we very seldom. He's got one philosophy about wrestling. I got another one, and sometimes we chat about those philosophies, and we try to meet in the middle somewhere. Or if we can't, we just agree to disagree. But he's misunderstood, like you said, man. And I think if a lot of people would give Johnny the person an opportunity, they would come to like Johnny the wrestler more. They would come to respect Johnny the wrestler a lot more if they realized that Johnny the person is he is who he claims to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's legitimate. He's there's not a whole lot of, costuming. He's not putting on a front. He can fight. I've seen it. He used to box. People don't realize that. he'll light you up.
Right.
But he also has a gift of gab, which a lot of people don't like because he's usually better at it than they are. And he's a very good speaker. He speaks well and intelligently. And he could cut your legs out from under you verbally very quickly if he chooses to. And he tells you the truth like I do as far as wrestling stuff goes. He tells you, hey, that sucked, and this is why it sucked, and here's what we need to do so you don't suck next time. And people don't like to be told that they suck. They want to think that their shit don't stink and that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. There's been some people, and I just, I got tired of all the softness years ago, and so I've been straightforward. That's why probably Johnny and I get along so well, where our personalities are a lot alike. Now, I don't get on social media and do a lot of stuff that he does, but as far as having a real conversation with somebody and giving them the truth instead of sugarcoating it, you're going to get that from both of us. There's times that I've said stuff to people. Like I asked this young lady one time, I said, who trained you? Because they trained you completely wrong. They taught you how to do high spots and you can't even lock up. And her trainer was sitting next to me.
Oh,
And he got a little upset about it. And I was like, "Did you train her?" And he was like, "Well, I worked with her a little bit ago." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, what the hell do you do?" Because
exactly.
she's got to carry this wrestling business on when we're gone. When we can't physically do it anymore, we're relying on people that are coming up now to keep it going. You know what I mean? And the fact that they don't want to be told the truth and the fact that they don't want to hear the facts, it doesn't bode well for the future of wrestling in this area. It really doesn't. And the
Here's the
fact that you
thing.
can just walk into a building and go, "I'm a wrestler," that don't bode good either.
And just I see a lot of high spot wrestlers, and it's like they can do all these fantastic moves, but yet
Yeah.
they can't grab a headlock
Mm.
and get on the mat and wrestle. And the thing about pro wrestling, it all starts with the basics. The better you are at all the basics, the better you're going to be at everything else after that. All these high spots you love doing, if you
Right.
know how to get in the ring and you know all the basics and you got a good foundation, you're going to be even better when you execute these high spots. Because you see guys all the time. Look, if you do a high spot and you do a plancha over the rope and you miss everybody damn near every time you do it and it looks like shit,
Yep.
why are you doing it, man? These moves, if you're going to take that risk to do that, you need to have pinpoint accuracy pretty much. It needs to be
Yeah.
crisp. It needs to be clean, not only for your health, but the guys waiting on you too. You know, because
Right.
anything can happen, and it all starts with the basics. Man, when I was trained, they didn't really teach us any high spots or anything. They taught us the basics, and then I was thrown in the ring and had to kind of learn everything else
Yeah.
on the fly. You know, Tony Falk would let us work when Jeff wasn't around. He'd let us practice power slam spots and maybe some things off the top rope or something. But
Yeah.
overall, they kept us in the ring, arm drags, bumps, headlock takeovers, head scissors, all this basic stuff that you should know how to do. That is the
Yeah.
foundation of pro wrestling, man. And that kind of carries me to this. You had your run as the champion. You kind of you did your job. You got positioned Brett Michaels to where the company needed him. He needed him to be. And then now most of the people inside the business know that, but after that, then you kind of took on a trainer's role. So talk to me about. I feel like you really like training. I mean, we've never asked you that or not, but I just feel like you're the type of guy that I feel like you would be a real good trainer, and I feel like it's something that you would have passion in, and you really enjoy passing on this knowledge and the right ways to do this stuff to these young men and women, man.
Well, yeah, I do, especially when it's done correctly. Um, the thing is, like you said, the basic and the fundamentals. When the people who train with me, they'll tell you. Usually, from day one when I meet you, I try to find out a little bit of information about you personally, your athletic background, because I want to know if you've got balance. I want to know if you've got footwork. If you tell me that you sit and played video games for 20 hours a day for the last 10 years, and I know it's going to be harder to get you there than this person I got over here who played soccer for the last 4 years. I know that they're going to be more agile. They're going to be able to make moves and cuts and whatever they got to do. But I also tell them that you're here to learn the basics and the fundamentals of professional wrestling. I can't teach you how to do a 450. I can't teach you how to do whatever that flipping Canadian destroyer.
Right.
I can't teach you how to do a moonsault. Now, at one time, I went to this gymnastics studio out in Cordova, Tennessee, or a gym rather, and I taught myself how to do 450s, moonsaults, and shooting star presses into a foam pit. Now, I wasn't about to try that crap in the ring because I wasn't trying to die.
Right.
But I went out there. I was just like, well, let me see if I can do this stuff. But I tell him, I said, when I got trained by Bill, I was taught, and I never forget it. I was taught headlock. Well, obviously, collar elbow. I was taught headlock, hammerlock, and top wrist lock. He goes, "All right, kid, you're ready for a match." And I went, "Huh? No, I'm not." And I remember that I've said that to my trainees. I go, "You actually have enough knowledge now to have a wrestling match." And they're trying to figure out when they can do shit off the top rope. You know what I mean? And I said, "You don't learn that here. I teach basics and fundamentals. I'm going to have you doing rolls. I'm going to have you doing flat back drills. And when we think you're ready to start actually having some matches, we'll put you in plenty of scrimmage matches to where you can get in here and you get your timing with people." You know what I mean? There's always, like, you probably had somebody when you first started who was your favorite opponent because y'all just gelled. You know what I mean? Y'all had that. It's just like I could wrestle Johnny Dodson. I could wrestle Derek King with my eyes closed. I mean, back then, especially now I could wrestle anybody like that way. That's how I feel because, for one, I'm a ring general and it's going to be my way or no way. I mean, that's kind of selfish, but unless you've been in longer than me, shut the hell up. Let's go.
That's the wrestling business, though. That's how it should be.
So, but I remember I taught myself a lot of mat wrestling because a lot of guys weren't doing that. You know what I mean? So people are like, "Man, Alec can really wrestle." Yeah, and I never wrestled in high school. We didn't have a wrestling team at my school. And so I taught myself a lot of that stuff. Now I was taught the basics, like I said, from Bill and Derek and crew. But I teach them how to lock up. And then maybe right before they leave. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
he told me the first day that I thought, he told me the first day and I thought he was insane, but everything he said was true. He thinks things from a perspective I would have never thought, and that comes with the experience in this business too. Man, when you first break in this business, you have one idea. You basically you have the idea of what you've seen is what wrestling is. When it's really a whole microcosm of all kind of other little things, and that's something else in the wrestling business now. They do the big things, but not all the tiny things that make the big thing important when you do it a lot of times.
Right. Yeah, because I tell the trainees, I said, if we're going to teach you the small stuff, and if you do all the small stuff well, you won't have to rely on the big stuff to get your match across. You know what I mean? To get that reaction, to get that storyline told. I said, that, and to me, the psychology is the most important thing you'll ever learn. And that takes years and years for some people. My light bulb went off early on, I think. And I think that's because of who I got trained from. Bill Dundee preaches psychology from day one till the last day. And so if it don't make sense, whether people say if it don't make money and don't make sense, well, it don't make sense. It ain't gonna make money is the way I look at it. So, but I do enjoy training when it's in a scenario that I believe in. And I say that because, I stopped training for Dustin's company because we had a disagreement on the direction that the trainees need to go in. And so I said, well, I think it's best if I just don't work here anymore. And I gave him a month notice, and he just said, well, you don't have to come back. And I go, cool, no problem. But I messaged all of the trainees and let them know, hey, before you hear any rumors, let me tell you what's going on, because I'll fight for them. I still will. I don't know if they're getting a fair shake, but I couldn't stick around and be a part of it, because then I feel like I'm contributing to what I don't agree with. You know what I mean? So, but no, I enjoy training. I do. I think I enjoy it with about 4 to 6 people at a time. Really, if you've got a really big class, it's hard. It's hard to keep because they're they're waiting on their turn to do stuff. So then they get distracted. They start having side conversations, and then you start feeling like a school teacher. You're trying to, hey, hush up,
Right.
class. I ain't got time for that. I got this. You two doing this. You two doing this. You two doing this. Let's rock and roll. Rotate. Boom. You go do this. You go. And so, yeah, I enjoy it because again, it's our responsibility to pass the knowledge on, and hopefully they retain it so that they can pass it on. Because again, if that ball stops moving, then we're done. I mean,
Right.
and that's we as the wrestling business, we're done. And on this level, that's not hard to do. The WWE is such a machine that, especially now, hell, it'll be around forever probably.
Yeah,
But
they're
I mean,
totally. I mean, here's the thing: they're totally. They are wrestling, but not at the same time. Not wrestling like
right?
guy. I mean, they're a whole different monster.
Yeah,
It's entertainment. It's a show business, pro wrestling based. Is kind of how I look at it.
yeah,
That's not per se what pro wrestling really is out here in these little towns and these little territories and stuff that's around. It's totally different game.
yeah. A buddy of mine, John Saxon, you may know John. He said one time, "I'm not a sports entertainer. I'm a what do you say? I'm not a sports entertainer. I'm a wrestler that's damn entertaining or something like that." And I was like, I agree.
Right.
John Saxon is the uh, Mississippi, Louisiana version of Alan Steele. We're very similar thought processes. Getting in the ring and getting it done. The dude is a machine. Not to get off subject, but shout out to John Saxon because that dude he doesn't really actively wrestle anymore, but that guy had the stories that you could sit and listen to forever because he used to travel with JYD back in the day and stuff like that. And just get in the ring and just hold on because he'll put you in holds and moves that you didn't even know you could do. I mean, he is extraordinarily good. Just in ring, hard to touch him. But I'm hoping that the trainees are still getting good training because I don't think Derek even participates in the training anymore.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, from what I've heard. What I did hear is that one of the trainees was kind of leading the training, and that shouldn't happen. Nah, not yet. That guy is not. If it's who I've been told, is not prepared to train anybody. He's not. He's barely been in the business. You know what I mean? So I hope that all of the trainees are getting what they want out of the wrestling business, but I don't think that they are. So there's handcuffs and limitations being put on them that's not right. And I'm not trying to bash Dustin Starr on here, but I just that's why I don't work there anymore. I quit because I didn't agree with the direction it was going. So it's his money, his company. Ain't nothing I can do about it, but bitch about it on here talking to you.
Right.
But no, I did. I enjoyed training, especially if the trainees are putting forth the effort that they need to be putting forth.
So we're finna start wrapping it up. We already went longer than I thought we would, man. The time.
Oh, I'm long-winded, bro.
Well, dude, I am too, man. Look, every time I do one of these in my head, I'm gonna cut it in an hour. Never happens.
Yeah.
Very seldom
Oh,
ever
yeah.
happens, man. And this is
I don't get warmed up till an hour.
Dude, well, I knew this when I knew this was going to be like Derek or even Johnny. I knew that once me and you got on, this conversation was going to take a while. But
Oh, yeah.
let me ask you this. You mentioned it earlier, psychology, because to me, in my mind, pro wrestling is 100% built on psychology. It's not really what we do in the ring is just the tools and the way to tell the story. Part of the tools to tell the story. And I feel like nowadays a lot of these young guys and even in big companies, they put their matches together by the moves and the spots instead of letting the psychology of the story we're telling dictate kind of what we do and don't do. What's your thoughts on that perspective, man?
I think they fall into a bad habit of working a lot harder than they have to. For one,
Right.
when you're doing that, and all you're concerned about are these moves. Like honestly,
Popping the
I stopped.
crowd.
Yeah, and I stopped watching AEW because they do some nonsensical stuff that I just find unforgivable. As far as somebody who takes pride in the sport of professional wrestling, I find it it's insulting. And really, I never even saw the match because it was one of their pay-per-views. But I saw a clip where there was this guy, and he was an Asian guy, and I'm not sure which guy it was riding a bicycle around the ring.
I seen that shit, man. It was so.
And he had a stick in his hand or something, and then Brian Cage clotheslines him off the bike. And I swore off watching AEW from that day, and it hurts me because I'm very big fan of Bryan Danielson, because when he came through Memphis, he was a cool dude and
right.
just a machine. And I love the little bit of work I got to do with him at Power Pro. Was fantastic. He's always been a stand-up nice guy when I saw him at WWE. I'm a big fan of FTR. They've got some guys that I would like to watch, but the product overall just sucks. I mean, as far as anybody who grew up watching old school wrestling, you look at this stuff like, what the hell? These guys are playing wrestling,
Dude,
and
I think it sucks for modern wrestling. I'm like you, man.
Yeah.
And I still watch it because even I've gave up on it too, but I still put it on. I don't really watch it unless there's something that catches my ear or my eye, some person or something that I might be interested in. And then every time I do decide, well, I'm going to check this out, always lets me down, man. I mean, it just does, dude. It always lets me down. I don't even think modern. I don't even think they're good for modern wrestling. And I'm like you, Bryan Danielson. Here's a perfect example. When Bryan Danielson first showed up in AEW, and he was in the ring wrestling, and they was pretty much kind of just letting him be him. Man, he was putting on some of the best matches, working with some of this young talent, pushing them to some of these awesome matches. And then when they grimed him up with whatever it is, the BC, whatever the hell it is.
Right.
It's like, here's the thing with them. It's like, if something gets some momentum, it's like they work as hard as they can to kill it off or get rid of it. I mean, some of this shit, if you just let it happen, it'll fix itself. All you got to do is put Bryan Danielson out there, give him some good creative, some decent stories, and let him take care of the rest, and he's going to get over. It's going to work.
Absolutely.
Don't put him in dumb shit.
Right, because his work is believable. You don't see through it, And I think that's something that, because everybody wants to be, I'm so light and do all this flashy stuff. I mean, I've heard Bill say it before. You could teach a monkey to do all the spots. You could train a bear. I mean, hell, bears used to wrestle. But you can train an animal to do all these cool ass flips and stuff that all these guys are trying to do. And all you do, and I mean, I wish I was as athletic as these guys. I do. I'd get up, do a flip now, hell, if I could, but I ain't breaking my damn neck. But I'm just saying, you can go out here and do 45, Hurricane Ranas and Hava Coronas or whatever you want to call them, and not have a lick of psychology, and the fans will be dumbfounded about what all the stuff you did, because typically you do too much, too fast for the crowd to envelop it all and understand what you're doing. And you wonder why these companies book these veterans, these 30-year guys in their main event, and you're working second match on the card. Because the storytellers are the ones that they go home and go, oh, yeah, you remember when Jerry Lawler did this? Or you remember when Doug Gilbert did that?
They're the
They're not going to
guys that
remember a
sell the tickets.
freaking thing. Yeah, they're not going to remember a freaking thing that you did. And less is more. You know what I mean? If you can do the basics and fundamentals, but you do them so well, nobody doubts that it's legit and real. And like I
Right.
said, I mean, honestly, we've lost that in a lot of places. The wrestlers don't care if the fans believe it's real, which is completely absurd. And the wrestlers don't care if they seem to be real. That was always a thing that I took pride in, was that, for one, my opponent knew I was real because I was bringing it.
Right.
The fans would tell me, there's been smart fans since the beginning of this, right? Since the beginning of the industry. Fans will come up and tell you, look, man, this and this, that was fine. Your match, I thought you guys were trying to kill each other. That's the job.
And that's
That's
the art of pro wrestling right there. The
right.
story and
Yeah.
and to make people believe what you're doing, even if it's just for 15 minutes in one night during your
Right.
match. That's the art of pro wrestling. That's the essence of it right there.
Right. And I told my trainees and stuff before, I go, look, I've jumped off ladders. I've gone through tables. I hit a guy with light tubes before. I've been in cage matches. You know, I've done a lot of this stuff.
Since the crib, you've been in cage matches.
I've been in a cage since I was born. I always say that I was a heel from birth, and I guess they put me in a cage to control me. But I just, without the psychology, we're just doing a bunch of moves. It looks like an acrobatic competition or something, you know, like Bill Street, Memphis, Tennessee. They got a group of guys called the Bill Street Flippers.
Right.
You go down there on the weekend, and you got these young guys running and just doing round offs, back flips, all this stuff, boom, boom, out in the middle of the damn street. And they got their hat out there for tips. And that looks like half of the matches you go to these shows and see these days, you know. And granted, I love wrestling guys like that. You know, I love wrestling those young, smaller than me, faster than me, more athletic than me, that can do all that stuff, because I believe that styles make matches. So if you've got two guys who work the exact same way, do the exact same stuff, then it's harder to get the fans really to choose which side. But if you put me in there, then I'm just ground and pound type guy who's going to give you back breakers and suplexes and beat on you, you know, boots and fists and stuff like that. You put me in there with somebody like, I don't know, Tattoo, who can do all the flips and do all that stuff, and then where I can use my size, I can use the difference in athleticism to tell these stories. Right. Speed kills, you know. You like, yeah, he's got him. But they know once I get my hands on his little ass, he's in trouble. And, you know, so then now here's my opportunity to get my stuff in, you know, and mine's easy. I'd always tell people I rest during the heat. You know, I will fly, flip everything for you early on. But when I shut you down, just so you know, I got to first get my breath and then we can go from there. Right. And then I'm gonna beat your ass for a little bit and make them care about you, and then we'll give them a little more action at the end. But yeah, without the psychology, it's not what we're doing, it's the why we're doing it, you know, and how. If you do it right and you do it at the right time, it means so much more than just doing it. So, I mean, there's some guys that can do some stuff that I wouldn't even imagine doing. But then the crowd sits on their hands during their matches because they don't understand what they're doing.
Right.
Well,
for me, it's a lot of the psychology plays in the fact of where to position some. Here's the thing. You could do 5 moonsaults during a match. Or we can set this match up for one moonsault during that match somewhere at the climax, And you'll get a bigger reaction out of that one moonsault than you will all 5 of the other flips or whatever you did.
Right. Right. That's one of my big pet peeves with AEW. It's like everybody's invincible. Whose turn is it to sell? You know what I mean? Like these guys are taking pile drivers on the stairs. They're taking stuff off the apron or onto the apron, the hardest part of the ring.
Right.
Everybody, the announcers love to point that out, but it don't beat nobody. You know what would it hurt if you took that flipping pile driver, which I've seen, the Canadian Destroyer, on the apron and your ass lost by count out? What would that hurt?
Right.
Nothing. You just legitimize that move and the danger of that ring. That's a positive because now you don't have to keep doing that shit.
And it helps the whole sport, man. It helps the whole everything.
Right.
I'm like you, dude. And finishers, man. Here's the thing:
Oh,
you can't call it
Jesus.
a finisher if it don't finish whoever you put it on.
They need to change the name of the super kick. It's just a kick. That they ain't beating nobody wins with the super kick. You can thank the Usos, the Young Bucks, and Carmella. I've said this to people before. They officially have killed off that move as having any impact. Because if you watch their matches, you're going to see double digits on those freaking super kicks. That pay-per-view, the Uso brothers, when they wrestled against each other a few months ago, 19. I might have missed a couple. I counted 19 super kicks.
And for
19.
Me, it was the worst match on the show
by
that show.
Far. By far.
And it should have been one of the best matches with the story behind it, two brothers. But it was for me, it was the worst match. I think it was at WrestleMania, first night maybe, but it was.
It was WrestleMania.
It was the worst match of both nights. Period.
Yeah, they could have left that one off the card altogether. And I actually know those guys. Like I remember when Rikishi was bringing them to TV, they were running around little runts. They were 4 and 5 years old, running around the TV studio, getting in everybody's way. And I'm glad they made it, but boy, they shit in the bed on WrestleMania.
Well, here's the thing about, like you said, the super kicks. I believe 100% you could, on the same show, maybe even back to back, you could have the Young Bucks go out there and have one of their matches and let them do all their shit they do, 200 super kicks. You put Shawn Michaels in the ring right behind them or Chris Adams, let them have a match, and then let Shawn Michaels or Chris Adams hit that same super kick and finish the match. The people's going to unanimously explode for either one of those two guys. That super kick still means something if the right person does it, sets it up right, and all the psychology that got us to that point is on point. That super kick still means as much as it ever did. It's like you said, the wrestlers in my mind, a lot of them, I feel like they don't believe in themselves, in who they are or who they're supposed to be. And that's one thing.
Right.
That's one thing Bill Dundee said to me and my brother early on, like probably 94, 95 maybe. He said, look, if I don't believe who I am, how are the fans out there going to believe who I am? And
he told me that from day one.
It all starts with, I have to believe in who I am and what I'm doing. And if I believe it, the fans will believe it. You can make them buy it if you believe it. But if you go out there and you're pretending to be a wrestler, then they're going to look at you like that and they're not going to care. They're not. It's the characters too. It's the personas. I don't think they realize that it's not all these moves and all these fancy things you can do. That's a plus. But to connect with the fans, they have to connect with you as a person, as a character, or as your persona. They have to identify emotionally with you. Once they do that, then you can pretty much do anything you want and get it over once they connect with you.
Oh, Jerry Lawler could get away with murder in Memphis. I mean, I remember a story. They said that he fell down on the mat, turned over on his side, and was spinning on the mat like Curly off the Three Stooges, just running in circles. And the crowd was going crazy for him because he was so over that he could get away with anything. But at the same time, Jerry Lawler was a master psychologist. So what he could accomplish in a wrestling match with just punches and kicks until the end of the match when he hit you with one pile driver, just one, no flipping involved. He hit you with a pile driver. Sometimes you get carted out. You know, sometimes you just got beat, but sometimes you got put in an ambulance and taken away. You know, and there's not enough of that type things, I don't think, in wrestling. You know, at what point does the stuff hurt enough to put somebody away?
Exactly.
I mean, golly, you gonna run me over with a bus?
And Lawler's a magician in the ring sometimes.
Fantastic.
Man.
I always wanted to work with a program with him.
He is my, like, honestly, I would have, he's the guy who made, I love all kind of wrestlers growing up. Bill Dundee, Austin Idol, Jerry Lawler, but Jerry Lawler was my guy, period. He's the guy who I guess I identified with, who I connected with. You know what I mean? Emotionally, he was able to go out. I made a post of a couple of days ago about, you know, just because you're over in your own mind, don't mean you're over with the fans. Why?
Right.
Why was Jerry Lawler maybe the greatest ever? Because he could not only talk you in the arena, but he could deliver once you got there. And that's the thing. You got to be able to deliver once that bell rings. You ain't got to do 1,000 moves, but you got to tell that story. You got to deliver on that story.
Right. Because I always thought to myself that I might not be the guy that the fans came to see, but I was going to make sure I was the guy they were talking about when they left.
Right.
So that means I'm going to put forth all the effort and all the energy, because I truly believe the energy that you put out directly affects the energy that you get back.
Right.
So if you go out and you're just him hauling through a match, then that's the kind of reaction you should expect, because the crowd, they didn't pay to come to work. They paid to come be entertained. They paid, you know, they're almost resistant and should be, to make you earn it, to giving you that reaction that you want. You know, if they respond to every little thing, you got the night off. You know I've been in matches where I snatch a headlock on a guy and he shoots me off and I steamroll him with a shoulder tackle, and the crowd like really react to it. And I go, in my mind, I go, oh, this is a night off here.
Right.
Because if they reacted to that, that means, for one, we ain't got to do that much. And they're going to be into the stuff that we do. So I don't have to jump off the top rope tonight. Let me save my knees, you know, for this match. They could do something, you know, simpler. I mean, and that just comes from experience and listening but the psychology of knowing to react to what's working. You know what I mean? If you work a job Monday through Friday, and you go to work every day, and you leave your house at 7:45 in the morning, and you got to be at work at 8 o'clock, but you live 25 minutes away, that don't work.
Right.
So why don't you leave a little earlier, like 7:30, and get to work 5 minutes early? And so now we figured out what works. That's part of the problem. We don't want to figure out what's working. We want to force feed the fans all this crap and hope they accept it. And now when you screw up on some of this stuff, you don't have the basics and fundamentals to recover it and make the match still mean something. Now you're just in a big, you know, cluster of impressive moves, impressive flips that don't mean a damn thing. Because what are you going to do if you do all these flips and stuff and you get in there with a guy like me who's been in the wrestling business since 97, who's going to ground you and not let you do those things? Well, now what are you going to do?
That's where the basics come in. That's where the foundation comes in.
Right. You show me you can. If I have to be able to trust you with my body to do the basics and fundamentals before I'll give you my body to jump off the top rope and hit me with anything. If we lock up and you're tripping over your own feet and you can't, you know, you can't even do that right, then guess what? This is going to be a slow, boring ass match, because we're going to grab one of them. We're going to grab one of them 10-minute headlocks they say that the old timers used to do that they really didn't do, but we're going to do it tonight. We're doing it tonight. So,
well, let me ask you this, Alan. You ever run into the wrestlers? I run into wrestlers who They go out there and they do their shit and they don't get the reaction that they think they should have got from the fans. And instead of looking at it like realizing, hey, maybe there was something in my presentation that hampered that or could have been done a different way to get that reaction. It's like they get mad at the fans for not reacting when the whole time it's not the fucking fans' job to react to us. It's our job to make the fans react to us and what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. They're not biting on nothing tonight. No, you're just not giving them what they're, here to bite on.
Right.
It's not their fault. They're the customer. You're providing the service. You're providing the entertainment. So if you go to a concert and, for example, okay, I took my wife to see Janet Jackson in concert. And I was like, man, Janet Jackson, this should be the greatest, one of the greatest concerts we've ever been to. Mind you, we've been to Bruno Mars, Justin Timberlake, and some others. When I tell you Janet Jackson was the worst concert I've ever been to in my life, it was so disappointing. She came out and phoned it in. She looked like she was tired, that she didn't want to be in Memphis, Tennessee. And literally the only time the crowd reacted to her was there was a hologram image of Michael that came up, and it was a song they were singing. They were singing together, the hologram, and then she'd sing her parts and back and forth or whatever. That was literally the only time the crowd responded to her the entire night. Now, mind you, she didn't sell the place out. So we had bought the cheap seats. And because the FedEx Forum is usually pretty expensive. And so when we got there, they're like, we upgraded your seats. Like, okay, cool. So they moved us closer for free.
Right.
And that's a bad sign if nobody wants to see you. But maybe she saw that when she walked out and was like, oh, the hell with this. But you're not allowed to do that. Spend the same thing in wrestling.
You deserve the show that you paid to see.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if there wasn't but 5 people out there to see Janet Jackson, and you and your wife were 2 of them. She should still go out there and put on the show that she would put on if there was 20,000 people out there.
Right. And that's the same thing for wrestling. You know what I mean? So you can't blame the fans, and you can't take it out on the fans because your shit stinks.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you're not equipped, or you're not prepared or professional enough to go out there and get the job done. It ain't the fans' fault. And mind you, the fans' reaction may not be the same every time. They might get sick of seeing the same old routine you do every week. If your match is tackle, step over, hip toss every week, then okay, time to switch something up. You got to be creative, and you got to give the fans. They've already spent the money to see you. It's your job to make them spend the money next week to come see you again.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you don't win them over, you just lost you and the company money.
And like you said, it's you got to be creative. Creativity to me is one of the creativity's king in pro wrestling.
Absolutely.
You have to be creative. And here's the thing. If you really want to pull it back, we're all out there doing the same moves and the same stuff. So it's more about making that unique to us. Each individual person or character or wrestler, it's all the same stuff. So if Bradshaw does the clothesline from hell and I do a big clothesline, it's my job to make people, when they see my clothesline, recognize it as me. That you got hit with the Hellraiser's clothesline, not to think, well, that's an imitation of the clothesline for hell, which truthfully, on USWA, I think I was the guy who invented the clothesline from hell from Bradshaw.
Right.
Dude, I worked Bradshaw one morning on TV. As a matter of fact, I had to kiss Dutch Mantel's feet. So that ought to tell people about paying your dues and doing what you're asked. But he hit me with this big clothesline, and before that, I don't remember it ever being called the clothesline from hell. But after that, in the WWE, it started being called the clothesline from hell. But we're all out there doing the same moves, the same maneuvers. It's just we have to make it unique to us so people identify it as, man, when he does it, I like it better when he does that than I do when this other dude does it.
Yeah, I mean, like the super kick conversation. Right. Like you said, Chris Chris Adams or Shawn Michaels, those are way better than the Usos or the Young Bucks, you know? So, and you don't have to use them nearly as often.
And I'd be willing to bet they're going to finish the match too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Alan,
Yeah, because, I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, dude.
I was going to say, like you said, we're all kind of doing the same stuff. At least a lot of it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got some people that are just do some outlandish stuff that I could never recreate. So, I mean, you figure out what you do well, and you get to where you master that, and switch it up. You know, it doesn't have to be in the same spot of the match every time. I mean, literally, you could run the same match backwards. I mean, and just switch the moves in and out. I've done that. I'm speaking from experience. I've done it. But I know you put a twist on it. How many people have won matches with DDTs? Arn Anderson has admitted he stole his DDT from Jake the Snake Roberts. Everybody stole a DDT from Jake the Snake Roberts because he invented the move. But Arn Anderson admitted he stole his from Jake, did his, a little bit different. He didn't have the wind up clothesline set up for it, So I mean, you can put a twist on that stuff, People, there's different types of slams and submissions, and I mean, there's a million things you can do,
right? And
you can get any of it. You can make people believe any of it. That's the greatest part, is that we control the narrative. If you put the Von Erichs, I've watched the Iron Claw movie.
Dude.
How crazy is it that the Iron Claw was over as much as it was in pro wrestling? When literally he's just palming this dude by the head.
Right.
And I mean, at some point people were bleeding from it. I mean, there was twists and turns on all of it. But that move was a feared move when I was a kid. I remember that Von Erich name was synonymous with that Iron Claw, and they, thanks to commentary and things of that nature, they made you believe it sitting at home that you don't want nobody grabbing you by the forehead like that,
And
so,
when it finishes people, I mean, you finish people with it. People, at first they might like, well, that would never beat nobody, but a year into that, and you're beating people with it, and all these guys that they think, well, he shouldn't have beat him with that, but you do. I mean, it's the stories that led up to build move like that, man. That's like Jake the Snake, man. When I was a kid, the DDT ended matches, and I remember watching. I don't remember if it was UWF or Georgia Championship Wrestling, but I think it was Georgia Championship Wrestling. I want to say it was Gordon Soley asked Jake Snake after he'd had a match, hit the DDT, finished the match. Gordon Soley, I want to say, asked and said, well, what does DDT mean? And Jake the Snake looked dead in the camera, and all he said is, the end. And that's all I needed, dude. Because
that's all you need to hear.
The DDT was the greatest finishing maneuver since the pile driver. I mean, the pile driver was first, and then when the DDT come along, it was the new thing. It was the new that finishes people. That's the end right there. You get hit with the DDT, and when Jake said that, that's all I needed to know is the DDT means the end. That's it.
That's it. 100%.
So let me ask you this, Alan, because we're fixing to have to wrap it up.
All right.
And I don't do this with everybody, but you're one of the guys that I feel like perfect for this. If you had one piece of advice for any young aspiring wrestler right now, what would your number one piece of advice for anybody trying to break into the wrestling business or wanting to?
Well, for one, be careful if you're not already trained, if you're getting into the wrestling business, be careful who you get to train you. Because what you learn early on is going to stick with you your entire career. Whether you learn from it to do it every night or learn to never do it again, it's going to stick with you. And make sure, don't just rush in to letting anybody train you because you're putting your body and your life on the line. This is, I mean, we all know pro wrestling ins and outs, pulled back the curtain, all that. People are fully aware of what's going on. It's still very real. The injuries and broken bones and surgeries and stuff that come from being off a half an inch. It don't take much. So be very careful on who you get to train you. Make sure you have somebody who is legitimate, who is breaking you into this business, someone who isn't just using you as a cash cow. There's plenty of people that are just not up on the up and up.
Right.
But also be honest with yourself from the day you start. Pro wrestling is not for everybody. Not everybody that plays college football goes on to the NFL. Not every guy who shoots basketball at the park makes it to the NBA. Not everybody's destined to be a pro wrestler, and it's best that way.
Right.
We need a line in the sand where Jim Bob and Josh and Billy, well, only Billy's qualified to be in this business. Well, sorry, but your two boys have got to buy tickets and watch you now because they're just not qualified.
Right.
Quit. If we got to put a stop on that, but you got to look in the mirror at yourself. And from day one, I think it's a little more open now, but from day one, you got to look at yourself and go, I'm not where I need to be. Nobody is on day one. This is what I think I need to improve. I need to gain 15 pounds. I need to lose 15, whatever the case may be.
Right.
Be completely honest with yourself and never stop being honest with yourself. You're going to get lied to plenty while you're in the wrestling business. So never stop being honest with yourself. If you can't count on yourself for honesty, you can't count on anybody else either. But training, and the reason I harp on that is because that's how you should be getting in the business anyway, is getting in and getting trained on the basics and fundamentals like we talked about. If somebody's rushing you to get in the ring 2 weeks after you started training, do yourself a favor and tell them you're not ready.
And that
because
all the time.
All the time. You put unprepared guys and you put them in there with somebody like from my generation or later, and that's an insult to us. And we're not going to allow you to risk our health and well-being. So this young guy might get his ass whooped. I mean, that's just being straightforward, and especially if you screw up a couple things. Usually with me, the first one's on the house. The second one's on your ass. So that's just how I roll. But yeah, take your training extremely serious, have goals and aspirations, but make sure you're not getting taken advantage of, and always be honest with yourself. Because if you can't trust yourself, you can't trust anybody else. Like we said, if you don't believe in yourself, you can't expect the fans to believe in you. So take it serious, and hell, you never know. I mean, there's no limit. There's no ceiling for, because just because you're not 6'4" and 270 pounds with a six pack, that don't mean that you not the next world heavyweight champion either.
Right.
Because Mick Foley, and I always use him as an example, I don't know if that's fair to him. Mick Foley was not a world champion look for what has happened prior to him. Very successful multiple time world champion.
Right.
Won a lot of his matches by sticking a sock in your mouth. So you control the narrative and you make the fans believe that sock worked. So he's done it to me. He reffed my match and I took Mr. Sacco at the end of the match. But I mean, if you're trying to get into wrestling, do your due diligence up front. Check on the people that you're trying to pay this money to. Because, I mean, if they're training you for free, that's a red flag too. Because I paid to get in. You're going to have to pay at least what I paid if you want me to train you.
Right.
That's just the way I look at it. That's only fair. And with that was at 97. So really I should be charging you more with the inflation. So since 97. But yeah, trust in yourself, believe in yourself, be honest with yourself, set goals and aggressively pursue them. But at the same time, be able to look in your mirror and tell yourself the truth. Because if you realize 6 months in, this ain't for you, then do us all a favor and go ahead and bow out, because you're going to end up either hurting yourself or somebody else, or being unaccountable and not reliable. And you're going to end up getting, pushed out instead of walking out on your own 2 feet. So,
Right.
yeah, that's about it.
Some of the best advice any young wrestlers out there, anybody aspiring to get in the wrestling business could ever hear. Alan, man, I'm so glad we finally got this show and got to do it.
Yeah, me too, man.
One of the ones I've been looking forward to. I was looking so forward to it today. We had to cancel it, man.
God.
Dude, man, I was looking forward to it. But, dude, life happens. It ain't no sweat, man. And I'm a firm believer in timing. It may just not have been the right night. Might not have been the right time. Here, what? Yeah. 3 months later.
Right. Yeah. 3 months in a day.
it was the right time. Everything was perfect, dude. Man, I appreciate you so much for coming on, giving me your time, man, and your knowledge, dude. 100%, man. I had a blast doing this. Thank
you, man. Me too. I will talk about wrestling all night, and my wife's probably downstairs going, "Jesus Christ, how long is it going to get?" But no, she already knew. She knew. I told her, I said, "You know me. When we start talking, I might be up here a while." So yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. I hate that my body decided it wasn't going to work out the first time, but that's all headed in the right direction now. I'll see what I can do, as far as what Johnny's talking about in, like, I think September. See what I try to use that to motivate myself to get off the couch, and see what I can do. They say never say never. I've had my last match as of right now, but that doesn't mean it's my last match, Right. So we'll see. I love wrestling. I love wrestling done right. I'm very passionate about, I hope that comes across. I'm very passionate about training and passing it on to the next generation. That really needs to be done. And I appreciate you having me on here. I didn't know how I would feel about the podcast thing. I've done a few, but some of them are insulting to the wrestling business, because sometimes it's like, you shouldn't even have a podcast, but I appreciate you having me on here. This has been a lot of fun. I don't know how many people will see this or watch it now or whatever, but I hope that maybe, we either helped or, push somebody in the right direction, because it matters to me. This is something I truly believe I was born to be a professional wrestler. And I fell short of what most people would say was having a successful career, because most people think wrestling is WWE. Right. So just because I never landed a full contract with them, which honestly 10 years ago I almost got signed, but I never did. I mean, I've worked for them a ton of times, as extra talent, dark matches, all that type stuff. I've worked for WWE a bunch, and I got to know a lot of those guys personally. But I also, when WWE was hot and heavy, I never would have liked their travel schedule anyway. Right. So I'm a homebody. I spent a lot of money on my house. I like to spend time in it. Right. I actually have a wife that I love, which a lot of wrestlers don't understand that. So I have a wife and a dog that I love to spend time with too. The one thing I will say is my cousin, Michael Berry. That's the one thing for sure I can say without a shadow of a doubt. And now, if I get a phone call from him, and we talked recently, and he said, it's time to get the band back together. And so, be on the lookout. I don't have anything nailed down, but there may be a genetic perfection reunion and somewhere around Jonesboro, Arkansas.
I'd like to see that, man.
Just saying. That's the
Dude,
teaser.
I'd love to see that, man. Like I said, that was where I really was blown away with you and him. But man, I didn't know who he was at all.
Yeah.
But man, the difference in you, man, it was night and day. I thought, man, this he's ready. First thing I thought, this dude here is ready now. He's ready.
And honestly, and I know we got to go, but I felt like I was ready. That's the kind of confidence I really had in myself. Wolfie D, and I'll say this, and I know you probably got to get out of here, but
Dude,
Wolfie D and I,
Alan, you got all the time in the world, dude. You say what you want to say and say what you need to say, man.
all right, I appreciate that. Wolfie D was working for TCW also, and he and I had this real conversation, and he said, "Man, Alan, I got a good feeling about this company," and I said, "Yeah, I do too." And he said, "This is probably my last real run." And I said, "Well, I know I'm not as far in as you are." I said, "But it's probably my last real run too." Because I never want to get to that point, because we all love Lawler. We all love Dundee, Jimmy Valiant, Dutch Mantel. We all love all these guys. At some point, and it's been for a few years, there's been the whispers like, "Man, they shouldn't be doing this shit no more."
Right.
You know what I mean? You get a lot of people saying that, and whether they're right or whether they're wrong, I never wanted to be on the other end of that conversation. I never wanted them to be like, "Damn, man, Alan just can't cut it no more."
Right.
You know what I mean? Alan, why don't you just stay home? And so that's kind of how I felt at Memphis Wrestling. You know what I mean? I wasn't the best. The best I've ever wrestled, to me, the best I've ever presented myself as an on-screen talent was TCW. I think I would have gotten there in Power Pro, but I didn't. It didn't stay around long enough, and I was still green.
Right.
I mean, like I said, I made it on TV within the first year that I got into the business. So I thought that was a big accomplishment. But if I was the Alan Steele on TCW when I was on Power Pro, I'd have ran the damn place. You know what I mean? Not to sound cocky, but I'd have been the guy. And you'd have had me in the main event angles against Brian and King. You know what I mean? All that stuff. I think that by the point you saw me on TCW, that you could stood me across the ring with anybody.
Exactly.
It didn't matter who they were, how big they were. I wrestled 7-footers. I've wrestled guys a lot smaller than me. Then I can have a match on both ends of the spectrum. So I was fully prepared. when I think I have a very strong resume in professional wrestling. Not only do I have the resume, but you could just watch it and see it for yourself. I don't have to prove my resume is right. It's out there. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I just wanted to say, because we really looked at that being a huge opportunity in TCW, and we were just trying to make it as big as we possibly could. When it went under, or when they decided to close it down, that crushed me like inside. It really did. I went from going to the gym 6 days a week to maybe 2 or 3 times a week. When I tell you, I've never had the genetics to be a bodybuilder,
Right.
but I was a weightlifter, and I was a damn strong pro wrestler. So guys in there bigger than me, I could move their asses around, and sometimes they didn't get comfortable with it, but I'd suplex you at your damn socks if we had to get down to it. But even with that all being said, my journey is for the most part over. And so when I get to do stuff like this, it makes me feel good inside again. And so I do. I sincerely appreciate you having me on here. Um, I don't think I've ever been included in the, even like with Derek and stuff in the echelon as far as that goes, because a lot of people probably watching this are going, who the hell is Alan Steele? I remember leaving television with Derek and going to the Wolf Chase Mall, and people would recognize Derek, and I would be standing next to him, and they wouldn't have a clue who the hell I was.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. First of all, let me say, I don't want people mobbing me at the stores and that type thing. So I was cool with that. But it also was a reality check. Like I just said, be honest with yourself. I already knew, okay, you're not where you need to be. You're not over, like you say, because I remember Brian Christopher saying, if you can go out in public and people leave you alone, you're not over.
Right.
And I was like, that makes sense. So when we would go shopping after TV, and when this is also when Derek had that blonde hair, so he stuck out like a sore thumb.
Right.
But people, Derek, and to this day, Derek is right now, besides Lawler and Dundee, I think Derek King is the most recognizable figure in Memphis wrestling.
Oh yeah, I would
over the last 30 years.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be only one be above Derek, like you said from the get go. If Brian was still alive,
or if Jeff Jarrett was around or something,
or even if Wolfie and Jamie were around here, they could be more recognizable. But I think Derek's right there, man. Derek deserves that credit. He deserves to be acknowledged for the things he's accomplished in the wrestling business.
Yeah, because all of the guys before him love to have matches with him. All the guys after him love to have matches with him. So that alone should tell you, you know what I mean, that he's on a high level. Now, recently, in the last few years, he shifted it down a couple gears. You know what I mean? Because when we were on Power Pro together, Derek was having the best matches like almost every week. And when I say the best matches, the most exciting matches to watch, the crowd would react to all of his stuff, so he was over and he wanted, see, that's when Derek was extremely hungry. Now he's kind of like, I don't want to be gone all the damn time. So, if he's got a week where he ain't got to wrestle at all, he's okay with it. If that would have been back then, he'd have drove himself nuts because he had to be doing something somewhere, So, but again, man, I appreciate you having me on. I had a blast. I don't know how to shut up when I start talking about wrestling.
Dude, I'm the same way, man. When I get somebody I can talk wrestling with,
right.
Look, we could stay on for another 3 hours probably, dude, if we really wanted to, man.
I'm sure, absolutely.
Alan, man, like I said, man, it's been my pleasure, and I appreciate you so much. Be willing to come on and open up, man, and just give us your thoughts and your opinions about wrestling and your experience in the wrestling business, man. Means the world to me, dude. You're one of the. I have a lot of guests, but you're one of the ones that I've been looking forward to, and I've wanted you on a long time before we ever even kind of touched base. I just didn't have a connection to you, and I'm big on. Here's the thing: I've learned through the older I get, some things you just don't rush. And some things you let time handle on its own. And I feel like I've wanted you on since the day I started this thing. I didn't have a connection, and time kind of took care of that for me, man. And here you are, dude.
Hey, man, that's awesome. I'm glad it did. So, till next time.
Alan, man, you and your wife, y'all have a great rest of the night, and tell her I'm so sorry I kept you on here for 3 hours.
She won't blame you. Trust me. You won't get blamed at all.
Dude, y'all have a great night, and I appreciate you, Alan.
Yeah, man. Same to you.
You take it easy.
All right, man.
All right, guys. You've seen it right there. Alan Steele, one of the most talented, one of the most respected guys around this area, period, ever. Like I said, I believe he's the most complete pro wrestler this region has produced in the last 25 years, without a doubt. All right, guys. Tuesday night, I'm back. I got PKAW and Jet Hero. They're back in Brownsville, Tennessee. They found a home. I want to say it's Friday, June 7th, but Jet Hero will be here Tuesday night, 7 p.m., and then Wednesday night, I got Gene Jackson with the USWA Retro Podcast. He's going to be on. We're going to be promoting this new podcast they do. He's a comedian too, so he might tell us some jokes. We might do some laughing. I don't know. I want to thank everybody who tuned in, everybody who interacted with us, and most of all, Alan Steele for giving us his time. Until Tuesday, y'all take it easy.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're with my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.